Hello, everyone, and welcome into our 2023 Las Vegas Challenge press conference. We're going to start things off with our CEO of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and Jeff Spring. And Jeff, of course, just coming off of the All-Star Weekend last weekend down in Tucson, the El Conquistador Resort. Pretty incredible experience, I feel like, for a lot of players and even for the fans. Is it checking the boxes that you guys were thinking of when you designed it?
Yeah, absolutely. This is year 3, but the second year in Tucson, and it's going great. We had the industry conference with about 125 folks attending, and that just kicked off the weekend beautifully. You know, it was better than expected. A lot of great, fresh ideas for the industry about professionalism, growth, and collaboration. And it flowed right into the All-Star Weekend. You know, great action. The fans showed up a little bit more than last year, and we're excited to keep it growing.
And do you feel like the industry conference will continually kind of be the start just before an All-Star Weekend, wherever that location might be year after year?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to tie it together if we can. You know, some of that will be determined by the schedule and, you know, what our off-season plans are. But, you know, it works really well where we're at and kind of flowing into the start of the season. So as long as those dates continue, I think that we would see a reprise of what we did this year. We're looking to get out the schedule generally, you know, about by June 1st this year, so quite a bit earlier than the September date normally.
Well, and speaking of the off-season, there were, I'm sure, a ton of changes, additions, and whatnot within the Disc Golf Pro Tour, the Disc Golf Network. What would you say were the, 2 or 3 that might be the most impactful, or maybe the ones that people will recognize or see the most in terms of some changes?
Yeah, we've added some staff, and we've kind of reorganized the administration of the tour a little bit, but staff growth has slowed a little bit, I think, in the industry coming off of the COVID boom. A lot of businesses in the industry are adjusting and kind of watching growth return to a standard 15 to 20%, depending on the sector in the industry. I think our operations team, the growth there will be felt on the ground by events. We're doing more advanced prep. And the media team, we're more remote than ever, actually. So we're able to add on new positions kind of throughout the country, depending on where people are. But, you know, we're increasing the quality of the broadcast and on-site experience every year. So more spectator amenities and a better experience connecting with players on site.
All right, my last question, speaking of experiences, for a number of years, players have been talking about having this event be just 2 courses, 4 rounds possibly, but 2 courses. How much influence do you personally and the Pro Tour have when talking with venues and the various events as to how many courses they're playing?
Yeah, we're really happy to move to 2 courses each for FPO and MPO this year. We've been working with the LVC team on that for the last few years, and you know, it takes a lot to make changes, so it took a little bit of time. But in general, we have Disc Golf Pro Tour standards that are in place at all events, and this was one that we kind of had grandfathered in and waived for a year to get into compliance with the 2 courses per division. So we've got great partners with all of our event teams, and certainly want to enforce all Disc Golf Pro Tour standards at each event.
Appreciate it. Here's Zoe Andyke.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
And welcome back for this whole Elite Series. We're excited to kick it off here in Vegas. You mentioned a few of the tour growth highlights, but specifically for the Elite Series, is there any specific changes? Do we have the same kind of like positions for women and positions for men, or is there anything with the Elite Series that we can see specific differences?
So every year we publish a minimum added cash that's risen to $30,000 per event. In terms of the media plan, went really great last year, and we're running it back. You'll watch FPO live in the mornings and MPO in the afternoons. In terms of post-production media, FPO coverage is moving lead card onto Jomez Pro. So MPO and FPO will both be on Jomez Pro. We're excited about that. And we're adding FPO 2 post-production coverage with our partners at Ace Run Pro. MPO 2 will be over at Gatekeeper just like last year. So we're excited about that. We also, on site, have brought in GK Pro to run skins matches. And those are ticketed events, so now fans can come out the day before the event starts. We're calling that Autograph Day, and fans can come and get autographs a little bit easier than when players finish their rounds. A lot of times players have a little bit of time and need to stay in their routine. So we think if fans want to come Wednesday, it's going to be the best day to get autographs and meet the pros.
Those are huge highlights and majorly ramped up media efforts right there, especially with the FPO. And I want to talk a little bit about spectator tickets. We had a lot of events sell out last year, and a lot of people are watching for right now and making plans. What is their best avenue to make sure that they can secure a VIP and then a regular spectator ticket?
Yeah, we're excited to see spectator growth and trying to make more room at all the events. VIPs always sell out first, as you mentioned. So if people want to get tickets, the Disc Golf Pro Tour Eventbrite page has all of our events listed. Additionally, if they go to dgpt.com/tickets, they can check out all the details about events and spectating on site. And really, that's what we're focused on this year is growth on site and online with viewership.
Wonderful. Well, we wish you a great kickoff here in Vegas, and here's Brian Earhart.
Hello, Jeff.
Hey, how's it going, Brian?
A couple questions for you. This is actually a question that was sent in by a fan, and they're curious because I know for a fact that I think there's around 160 tour card holders or something around that number, which is incredible compared to years past. And at some point, we're going to get to a point where there's a lot of tour card holders. And what is the future plan to kind of structure who gets in and who doesn't get into these events?
There's 135 tour card holders officially. It's 90 men and 45 women. There are some silver card holders, which is a pilot program this year that allows some players to select 4 elite events in the entire silver event schedule if they want to pre-register with a tour pass. It also gives them on-site amenities and benefits that are above and beyond normal player experience like the tour card holders get. So, overall, the tour card system is in its first full year. Kind of last year was a pilot program, and we feel really good about offering more player benefits on-site and off-site year-round. The Players Council is up and running, and we're working with the representatives of the tour card players to make sure that their voices are heard and that we're accelerating rules and policies and working with the PDGA to implement like new standards. In the future, in terms of getting your tour card, we're launching a qualifying tour that we've mentioned this off season and launched, and we expect that to be, we're making a final deliberation right now. We've got about 35 events that have applied. In the second half of the season, you'll see those on the schedule, and basically, players will be able to qualify for some off-season events that will then grant them tour cards, and there's more information online about that, but we see that qualifying series as a way to award tour cards, and over time that'll be the main stream into getting there. But at every event there's other ways to get in. There's sponsor exemptions, there's event exemptions, there's also week of qualifiers, and some events have regional qualifiers as well. So if you're not a tour card holder, there's other ways to get in. And then of course this may be one of the last years, but we still have like open tier-based registration, which is based on PDGA ratings. So there are some spots in Disc Golf Pro Tour events being given out that way as well.
Last question to kind of piggyback off this. Is there ever going to get to a point where Disc Golf Pro Tour athletes are going to have to sign a contract in order to exclusively play Disc Golf Pro Tour events and maybe barring them from playing anything lower than that?
Yeah, we have not really even discussed the topic of making our events exclusive for tour card players at all. Right now, we have a tour card agreement that kind of just spells out the benefits that they give, and then we have some professionalism standards at the bottom, of like expectations of how they conduct themselves and how they kind of retain those benefits over time. But I don't anticipate like any exclusive nature to this in the future. We have a lot of faith that we're pouring all of our energy, talent, and passion into the tour. And if players want to play and they see the opportunity to play, that's great. And if they see other opportunities elsewhere, we'll have to level up our game.
Thanks for that, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Joining us now is Jessica Jacquart, our tournament director here of the event. And Jessica, aside from you being officially listed as the tournament director this year, which is a major change, congratulations, what are some of the other big changes that people should expect from 2022's version compared to this year's campaign?
Thank you. Yes, huge changes. I've helped out for a long time, but this is definitely huge leap. So for me personally, it's been major, and I hope you can't see the bags too much under my eyes. As far as the event goes, right now it's looking to be the biggest event that we've had. Spectators are huge right now, and we're continuing to see sales with those. Unfortunately, our venue, normally it's sunny Las Vegas. We actually just had our snowstorm, so hopefully that doesn't dampen our sales. But I think it's just going to be the best event as far as the spectators go. And we're playing 2 courses, and we've really tried to make the courses FPO, MPO, ready. We want championship courses, so we hope that we can deliver.
Well, of course, you have the Disc Golf Pro Tour kicking off here for the 2023 version, but you also have 360 other competitors here that are part of the A-tier. Just overall, managing 180 Pro Tour competitors and 360 additional competitors in other divisions, how in the world do you keep that all straight for a week? And then something. It's not just a week, clearly.
Yes, I have no idea. It's not easy, but I can tell you the other divisions that we have are what makes this event. Our costs are huge. Unfortunately, in Vegas, we can't find breaks very often. So we really need to support both sides, and we've found a good balance so far. If we can get our costs down, I think we could have an amazing payout, but currently we want to keep both sides happy and make that payout and continue to grow it.
Well, and then let's also talk about the fact that there's an army of volunteers here, and we see the posts and we see all the work and energy and effort, just what looks like hundreds of people. Talk a little bit about what the effort is overall for you guys to be able to pull off the event.
It is countless hours, hundreds of emails, text messages, phone calls, meetings, the amount of work that we put into the course, really countless hours. And it is, I think we're 140 volunteers this year, and our food costs for volunteers is insane, but we want to keep them happy. We got to keep them looking good. We got these awesome shirts here. We want to keep them happy though, so the cost for our volunteers, I think, it's like $14,000. But that's what it takes, right? We have this massive facility, massive amounts of players and spectators, and we got to keep it all in line. I'm happy to say that most of our volunteers are very happy to come back. We have many repeats. We have people coming from all over, all the way South Carolina. I think there's somebody from England is here. Which is that's a new record. That's the furthest volunteer for sure. But we keep everybody up to date through Facebook, through email, and everybody really shows up and gives it their best every day. And we want to say thank you as much as we can. We had an awesome volunteer party last night. Probably saw some videos of some disc releases that happened. I haven't seen one person unhappy today, one volunteer unhappy. Last night was a blast, and that's our appreciation to them.
All right, my last question then is, because some people might not be a competitor or might want to do more than just spectate, how do they go about trying to volunteer? Well, how do they reach out? How do they contact? Where would you send them, and how early do they have to commit to that?
Honestly, Pam Madrid. She's our volunteer coordinator. She handles everything. Join our Facebook volunteer page, and that's the beginning process. She'll reach out to you. She has amazing forms, Google Docs, that she has everybody fill out, and the data that we collect with those helps keep all of our volunteers happy, and she'll take care of you.
All right, here's Zoe Ende.
Hi, Jessica.
Hello.
So Terry had already kind of mentioned had you mention how there's about 140 volunteers, and because the Las Vegas Challenge is such an incredible show and it kicks off the season, it's obvious you have to have all of that help. I wanted to talk a little bit about the perks, but he also stole that. So let's get right into the meat of things for tournament directors out there that have goals to be on the Silver Series or the Elite Series and run such a show. I heard you talk about between a $12,000 to $14,000 budget. How is that possible? Is there fundraising? Is there partners, sponsors?
So Innova, Champion Discs, of course, is our major sponsor, and their biggest support is merchandise, right? So we got to generate some sales, and like I said, keeping our volunteers happy is what makes the event. Otherwise, we could not do it. And so generating the funds. We do tons of disc sales. We will be set up in the main tent tomorrow. Everybody come by and see us, spend a little money. Those disc sales, we do fun games like a silent auction. We do a pyramid of baskets. We do a raffle. So like the raffle, I think last year was like almost $4,000. And yes, so we do all we can to generate money, and we're welcome to new ideas. And as far as generating money, for any other directors out there, tournament directors, watch events. You know, if you're able to go to a larger event close by or travel to one, go to that event. If you hear it's a successful event, especially go to that event and try to pay attention. You know, take notes, talk to the volunteers, talk to the tournament directors, talk to everybody. Our core starters are spotters. These are all people that can give some good information and kind of behind the scenes information that you might not know up front. Just get in there and really talk to people, and that's the easiest way to learn how to run a great event.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing those tips. I know it's super important, and so many people are hungry to join this exciting space in disc golf. And so let's switch gears for you personally. What is like your top 1 or 2 goals for this weekend? What would make you feel like Sunday night, February 26th, the day is over? How is it that you feel the most success?
Honestly, I want to see huge crowds out here. We are a very unique venue and event. Las Vegas is not cheap, unfortunately, and then of course our parking is a huge issue. Parking costs are really, really high, astronomical. So the more spectators we have, obviously, the better those costs look. But I want to see it completely full. I would feel very successful. I want to watch crowds on our fairways. Awesome. That would be really, really successful. And then, of course, just not having to stress about making payout. So those disc sales, those 2 things would make me very, very happy.
Wonderful. And then just one last question, because this is exciting. If you're allowed to leak the news, besides the incredible payout for the first place MPO and FPO, there's always some sort of flashy Las Vegas prize that goes with the payout. Do we have something like that this year?
My lips are sealed.
I love it. Well, thank you, Jessica, for keeping us in suspense. And I believe that's all we have for you. And thank you for joining the press conference.
Thank
you
so
luck
much.
this weekend. And we'll be right back with you guys for the next interview.
And joining us now is Paige Shue. And Paige, You have a new sponsor for the first time in over a decade.
Yeah.
But you already have a couple of events under your belt, so I guess, and one of those being a win. So tell us, how comfortable are you with your new lineup?
Yeah, it's going great. It's fun. I'm throwing the discs a lot further than I have been before, so that's been like the most exciting part. But I feel great. I've played 2 tournaments, and I've actually won both of them, so it's going really well.
I would say so. You've also won here in the past in a great playoff against Catrina Allen a few years ago.
Yeah.
And just moments before we went live, you said you couldn't believe it's hailing.
Yeah.
This event offers up a little bit of everything. So what did you dig into your bank of experience to bring and to prep for this tournament?
Just like you said, just experience. I've just been playing disc golf for so long, and I've grew up playing in Colorado. I've played in snow, wind, blizzards. I mean, even just being a touring disc golfer, you're experienced to all the elements. So just sticking it out and having that mental fortitude is going to be key.
Well, and speaking of maybe sticking it out, I saw a post that your parents, I believe, were on the way here, trying to arrive here in Vegas. They had some delays, some weather and such, but I didn't find them on the registration list. So tell me, what's going to be the role of your parents this weekend?
Yeah, actually, it's just my dad here this weekend. So my dad's just caddying. Full-time caddy duty. So we had our first practice round together, and he just carried my bag, and I talked out all my shots, and so I think we're ready to take on the course together. And I think having my dad there is going to be a huge advantage because he's been watching me play for the last 15 years, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right, and then my final question kind of piggybacks on that, which is we're not seeing Grady here this weekend. Mm-hmm. So my question is, how do you guys decide who's going to play in which event? Because clearly you're here, and he signed up for more than a handful of events, as are you. But how did you guys go about making that decision for which events each of you will play in?
Yeah, a big factor was which events do we like playing, the courses, things like that. So this event, Grady isn't too big of a fan, and with me winning here before, I definitely wanted to come out here. And I know that this tournament always brings these types of elements. Like, it's always so difficult, whether it's snow, wind, rain, and I figured it was a perfect time to really put my disc to the test in those conditions. So that's why I chose this one, and Grady stayed home. But I don't know, it just really who wants to play which ones. But we also have family members coming out to watch, so we're still going to be both playing some of the same events, but we just kind of picked and choose and made the best schedule that we could to satisfy like what we both wanted.
Well, it sounds like the Las Vegas Challenge is going to be every bit of that this week for you. We wish you the best of luck. Here's Zoe Andy.
Thank you.
Hi, Paige.
Hi.
It is so cool to see that Team Discraft on your shirt. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know Terry already covered it, but I do want to ask, give me your favorite driver or driver for distance, and then what are you putting with?
Ooh, my favorite driver at the moment is a Nuke. Those discs go far. I was expecting them to be a little bit more overstable for my arm speed, but I can get some good glide out of them, and they're going further than I've ever thrown a disc, so that's been really exciting. And then I'm putting with Challenger OSs. I really like the overstability for outside of the circle because my step putt kind of has some Annie to it, and so it likes to, kind of helix and flex out into the chains. So those are my go-tos.
Very cool. And I know some people out there are saying welcome back to the tour. Me personally, I don't feel like you ever really left, but there was a short break due to having Savannah and life just evolving. Yeah. So what does it feel like to be coming back and actually attacking the tour with a lot of titles hopefully on the line? What does it feel like coming back?
Oh man, it's a dream. It's so exciting. Being gone for 2 years, it was almost like an identity crisis. I've been playing disc golf my whole life, and it was like a whole life change. I've been waiting for this moment for a while. I knew I wanted to come back at some point, but Savannah is my number one priority, and now that she's old enough and I have the support from other sponsors, it just kind of worked out. So I'm just super excited, and I can't wait to see, now that I have these other experiences and taking time away and kind of having a bigger picture in mind. Now that I do have a daughter, I think it's going to be great for on the course.
And I want to touch into, you'd mentioned that you always knew you would come back, and I think so many people out there wondered, is the fact that the World Championships at Smuggler's Notch part of the draw, or did you just always know it was in you?
I always knew it was in me. It just happened to be the same year with Smugs. I knew it was going to be about 2 years because it would be crazy to try to really tour with the little itty-bitty baby, but she's moving around now, and she loves disc golf, and I think she's going to love traveling the country and seeing what's out there.
Okay, and you touched on this. This is my last question for you, but just a little expansion on, Is there a new way to travel? Is there more plane flights? You mentioned a little bit more help with family, but how is this really possible, and what's the new method of travel this year?
Yeah, it's a lot of mixed stuff, but we do have an RV. Discraft hooked us up with an RV, so we're super grateful for that. So a lot of it we'll be driving around. We have a couple stints where we'll be out as a whole family for a few weeks at a time here and there, and then some tournaments it'll just be me and Grady. Sometimes it'll just be me, and it's just a big mix. But there's plane flights, there's long drives, there's RV rides, there's hooking up with other tour friends to help us out along the way. So we're just trying to figure it out. This is our first year back, so we're learning the ropes and seeing how really Savannah's going to handle everything.
Awesome. Well, I wish you the best of luck as a family out here, and you personally. I want to see you on top of that podium. Good luck, Paige.
Thank you so
Here's
much.
Brian.
Hello, Paige.
Hi.
I have a question for you. Actually, Ben Calloway, your new teammate now,
Yeah.
had mentioned to me a few years ago when his daughter Ruby was born that it completely changed the way he obviously viewed life and his values in life, but then it also translated on the disc golf course and said it gave him a sense of calm that he had never experienced before.
Yeah.
And he still has a tough time putting it into words. Do you feel like motherhood has maybe taught you some life lessons that you can apply to your new job out here?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I mean, a wider perspective I think really helps. It can seem so big in the moment when you mess up or you throw a B or you lose a tournament, but like having Savannah and knowing that like what I'm doing is hopefully inspirational for her at some point, and just knowing that I'm pursuing my dreams, and the saying like you don't know what you have till it's gone, and I think being forced to step away from disc golf for a while made me really appreciate the game and the love of the flight of a disc, and I love it. It's so awesome. And so yeah, I'm really excited to see, I have played a couple tournaments already this year, but like coming onto the big stage again, I think it'll be cool to have kind of a different approach and really step out and see the wider picture of everything.
Other question, obviously you have a child now with another disc golfer. Is this kid going to be kind of forced to be playing disc golf growing up, or are you going to kind of let it go and see what it gravitates towards?
I'll probably see what it gravitates toward. I don't want to force her to do anything, but I'm assuming if she sees mom and dad do it all the time, she'll be somewhat inclined to do it. So fingers crossed that she wants to be a disc golfer, but whatever she wants to do, we'll love her and support her.
Well, I love the level-headed mindset. Good luck this week, Paige, and obviously we'll be seeing you out here all year.
Awesome. Thank you.
And we will be right back.
Joining us now is last year's champion in Drew Gibson. And Drew, I'm going to start with a few of the stats, which was you destroying the Innova course last year. Pair of 13s out of the 4 rounds. 2 of those rounds you shot 13 under on the Innova course, including when it needed it the most to catch Gannon in that final round. So the question is, did you just play it well, or do you really like that course?
I see that course really well, just the way that the shots in previous years have just kind of lined up for me. Not that it makes it easy, but it just the holes play kind of to my strengths. A long drive and then a touchy putter up shot. It's kind of I would say some of the strengths of my game. So to be out there on the big end of a course, throwing the far shot, and it also rewards accuracy. Which I feel like most of the time I have a decent amount of it, especially when I'm playing good. So obviously it fits my game well, but also I just enjoy the course as a whole. I mean, it's so pretty, it's so nice. A lot of the way that they made the holes and set it up, it just appeals to my eye really well.
So after you had won this event last year in dramatic fashion, of course, in overtime with Gannon Buhr, you only found the top 10 one more time on the Elite Series. That was at the OTB Open. So what was the difference in your opening event versus the rest of the year?
Yeah, so I talked about the week of this tournament last year, as I had played from, because I had a great finish to the year 2 years ago now, almost won Pro Tour Championship, almost won the USCDC. So I just played every single day, all day through the off season. That's all I did, just trying to keep that game going. And I think that by the middle of the year, I was just, I was done. I had played, pretty much 2 years straight of disc golf, at a pretty high level. And by the time it came to the middle of the season, last year, I was just there was no more good shots left in me. There was no more mental fortitude. Obviously the last year at this event, I was in 50th place after the first round, and clawed back to win the tournament, so I had some fight in me. I think that last year, OTB, I got off to a pretty good start, and I wasn't really having to grind too much. It was just kind of there, and I played great. And I think that towards the middle to the end of the year last year, once it started going bad, I didn't have the way to turn it around, if that makes sense. So it was just I was kind of disc golfed out. So this year, I still practiced, I still kept up on my game, but I didn't grind over disc golf every single day. I think that coming into this, I'm still confident. I still feel like, I could go out there and shoot great scores, but I feel like throughout the season, it's going to give me some longevity of consistently playing well and consistently having, some fortitude to continue to grind out there when it's not going my way. Because, that's what it comes down to me, is having the ability when it's not going your way to turn it around. And just after pretty much, because I still won, 4 8 in a Pro Tour last year. So, I still had a pretty good season, but when it mattered, I just didn't have the fortitude to turn it around. So hopefully this year kind of leveled out a little bit this offseason, took some time, and hopefully going into the end of the year where you want to be peaking, I'm able to do so.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of, we'll say, mental, like you said, fortitude and things you're challenging yourself. Anything physically that whether it's a change up in your bag, additions, you obviously have the mixed bag or the open bag policy or sponsorship, I should say. Is there anything that you feel like you've changed up that's of significant note?
Not really. Last year, like I said, I had a little bit of a wrist issue going on, and I just feel like sometimes it would make my release a little wonky. And then even when it wasn't affecting me, I was in my head about it, so I've kind of battled through that. My wrist feels good. There was no significant disc changes or anything that happened. It was just kind of, at a certain point, sometimes it's just not your time, not your week, not your month. We've seen it from a lot of, really good players. Ricky doesn't even get to play these 2 weeks, so it's sometimes you're going to miss stuff and, it's just not your week or whatever. So no excuses, honestly. Just didn't play my best, didn't put my best foot forward. And with how many great players there are now, if you don't play your best, you're going to get passed up.
All right, my last question is, we see a number of professional athletes in a lot of different sports during their season kind of go dark or dormant on some of their social media for whatever reason, whether it's to block it out or just to have their own focus. Is that something you've ever considered yourself, is taking a break from social media during the season? Do you think that would impact you in any way?
Are you saying I should consider it?
I'm not saying that the world is calling for it or anything like that. I'm just asking if you would consider it. I know you've put out some bets and some things on
I paid
Twitter
that
and such.
bet. I took a break from Twitter for a week, but there needs to be someone on Twitter that's willing to keep it real.
Okay.
There's too many people out there just doing whatever they want, so someone has to be there. It's not going to be you, so someone has to do it.
That's right. I don't go as hard as you do, Drew.
No, you try.
I don't. Here's Zoe and Ike.
Hello, Drew.
Hey, Zoe.
Welcome back to Vegas, and it's got to feel good knowing that you did have that championship last year. You did win that playoff, and although the season could have been a grind, you're here to defend your title.
Yeah.
So, weather has never really been too much of a factor for you. You're a vet, really, at this event. What's it going to be like this year? What's the focus for the tournament?
I mean, same thing as last year and same thing as every other tournament. I mean, there's going to be so many great players here, just like all the other Pro Tour events we play. I mean, Calvin Heimburg could come out here and shoot 13 under every round, and there's no beating him no matter what you do, you know? So, I mean, coming out here and playing the elements, knowing you're going to roll away, you're going to have a putt spit out, you're going to have whatever, you know, and hoping that you come out on the top of that is I think what's going to be the challenge, you know, this week with this weather we're facing. Last year at this event, I think that it was, you know, the best score, the best player, you know, that week prevailed. I think this week with the wind and the condition that we're going to be facing, it's whoever can battle it the hardest and, you know, get through with the least amount of punishing mistakes. Or, you know, I was playing this morning and, you know, you hit the side of the hill wrong and it rolls 60 feet out of bounds, you know, where normally that shot's curling up to the basket. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of things out of your control that happen this week. So just a matter of internalizing those, understanding that it's probably going to be happening to everybody, you know, and just staying focused and keep grinding. I'm just trying to play my best. If that happens to be 2 strokes short, then it is what it is. But I think if I go out there and put my best foot forward in every single hole, I've proved that can, you know, lead to winning events and winning tournaments. So the best thing I could do is just try to, you know, go out there and play my best. And if I happen to be able to raise the trophy at the end of the week, then great. If not, then, you know, whoever outplayed me playing my best, more power to them.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing is your focus is to be tough through adversity and just do Drew. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that if I feel like every single round I walk off the course and go, man, I'm happy with that round, I think that I've proven that that's hard to beat. You know, I feel like when I walk off the course, I'm like, man, that's good, that, you know, 10, 11, 12, whatever the score might be. You know, I've never walked off the course and like, man, I played great and been beat by 5 before. So I think if I come out here and I play the game and, you know, I only focus on myself, that there's no reason that I couldn't, you know, go back to back here.
Awesome. I want to touch back to a little bit of your off season. So I'm proud of you for taking a little bit of a break. Obviously, you've started your practice back up. 2 questions here. First part is, when did you pick the disc golf bag back up, and what else were you doing for your off season?
So I never took an actual break. I would still play. You know, I'd still go putt in the backyard. It wasn't like I was like, I'm not going to touch the disc for a month. It was just a matter of I would go play and try to enjoy it. Go play with my dad. Go play with Marcus. You know, go film some videos. I would try to enjoy throwing the disc versus be out there, you know, because there's a big difference between coming out here and practicing and being at your local course and practicing. You know, it's like when I'm playing my local course, I'm just trying to get around and not let my friends beat me. You know, here I'm trying to grind and learn the shots and learn the wind and learn the terrain. And, you know, if here's the shot in this wind, but if the wind's doing this, you know, it's more of a learning curve than it is actually enjoying the game when we're out here at this event, you know. So there was never a time off. It was just kind of enjoying the game and getting the love back. Because like I said, I had such a rough end of the year that it was kind of at times was challenging to get back in the RV and go, oh, I can't wait to play again tomorrow, you know. So getting that love, getting that feeling, and really wanting to come out and compete at the highest level. You know, everyone, like I've said before, is so good now. You know, I mean, anybody can win, you know, any week. And now, you know, you have to qualify to play. You have to do all these things. It's no longer just, you know, 15 guys that are great and then whoever else could sign up for the tournament. I mean, you have to earn your way now. You have to earn your keep. There's people, you know, losing their tour card and all types of stuff, you know. So it's becoming a real privilege to be out here playing every single year against the best players in the world. So you got to keep that in mind when, you know, people are having a struggle or whatever. It's like, you know, you got to earn being out here now. You know, it's tough and it's a grind no matter how great you are. You know, McBeth, I mean, he obviously grinds to maintain that level just like everybody else grinds to just be able to get on the tour.
Absolutely. And it's good to highlight those things. One last question for you in switching gears. We know that you got a house last year in Arizona. How does that change your focus, or does it change your focus? And then maybe the way that you tour and travel.
Yeah, so I mean, having the house, it's definitely much different. You know, like now I have something I have to pay a mortgage for every month no matter where I am, you know, like make sure the place isn't burning down, make sure the grass is nice so I don't get a HOA letter. You know, I mean, there's lots of things that go into it, but also it allows me to, you know, have a home base, store my toys, you know, enjoy my off time. You know, now I can go in my backyard and putt and enjoy it, you know, and have a barbecue, just like things that I wasn't able to have before and really feel like I'm at home, you know, not just because it's my space, but because it's, you know, literally I own the thing, you know. So, and then for tour this year, you know, we have an RV. I was able to get an RV last year, so hopefully now we have 2 homes. You know, have a home at home and then have a home with wheels. So definitely going to be a benefit to feeling more, you know, be able to get your clothes out of your closet instead of out of a duffel bag is going to be nice.
Absolutely. Well, good luck this weekend, and we'll enjoy watching some of those shots and that positive attitude.
Thank you so much.
Drew.
Welcome back, everyone. Joining us now is Anniken Steen. Anniken, you're here in the U.S., you're playing disc golf, your first time here for a big tour.
That's right, yeah.
Talk to us about that decision to come here to the U.S., because I hear you're staying through Jonesboro. Talk to us about that.
The reason why I'm able to be here at all is because I now have a 5-year contract with Guru Discs and PCS, and that allows me to be more on tour and to compete both in the States and in Europe now. So yeah, I'll be here for Vegas, and I'll also play the Memorial, and then Waco and Austin, and then I'll head back home and come back for Champions Cup, and then what's next there? Jonesboro and OTB, yeah. And then I'll do more like Europe, and then hopefully come back in the fall season. Yeah.
Well, welcome, and of course we wish you safe travels throughout the entire year. Last year, the world got to know you a little bit better in seeing you win the PCS Sula Open. Talk to us about what that win meant to you, for you and your career.
Oh, I mean, just the fact that the Pro Tour came to Europe and to Norway, that was really cool. And I always competed at the tournaments out there on the west of Norway. I think it's one of the best courses we have there. So it really meant a lot. I knew what I was capable of doing. I had a lot of nerves, I gotta be honest. But yeah, just putting it together at the very end to get the finish, it meant a lot. And it was just after that I realized, oh yeah, that was actually like a Pro Tour win, Silver Series. That was, yeah, it was awesome.
You've arrived. You certainly stepped up on a very large stage. Now, during this off season, I've been told you've been working on probably a little bit of your physical game, but also your mental game. So what are some of the things that you focused on, and what were you addressing when it comes to getting your mental game up to speed?
Well, first of all, I think my mental game has always been one of my strong sides of the game, but I think you can always improve. So I do a lot, I went to the Norwegian Olympics website, and a famous Norwegian golfer, she was doing this focusing on a specific object, or I have a plant that I focus on, and you try to stay focused on one element of that, and if you find your head to be way out, then you restart and then you start focusing again. And I found that really helpful when it comes to my putting, because sometimes your head can be all over the place, So, and also a lot of meditation and what is it called? Self-talk? Mm-hmm. Is that what they call it? Yeah, so a lot of good stuff. Yeah, right, yeah. And that you can do this, and yeah, a lot of audiobooks with a lot of mental stuff, yeah.
And so disc golf isn't the first sport that you've been very competitive in. What are some of the other backgrounds or other sports that you've also been part of?
Well, I come from figure skating and track and field, actually. I've never done I've always done individual sports, so I'm just continuing that path now.
All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck, and Zoe's going to have a few questions for you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Annika. How are you?
Nice, good.
And is this your first time in Las Vegas?
It is. It is.
Because I had to ask. This is a destination that often gets visited if you aren't from this country. So, tell us how you feel about Las Vegas.
Well, I mean, we came on Friday, so we had a bit of sightseeing. I haven't been downtown yet, but we'll get there. But I mean, it's not snow here. You can see the green grass. I just love it. Yeah.
And so hearing you say that, we have some vicious and some very, I guess you could say, testing weather, but this isn't necessarily too far from what you're always in. Talk about what the conditions are like back home regularly for you.
Oh, I mean, at where I'm from in Norway, we usually don't have that much wind that I've heard that will maybe come here. But overall, Norway, we have a lot of weather. You can snow, some wind out on the west coast. Yeah, we get everything. So it shouldn't be too far off from what I'm used to. Just layer up with my clothes and everything.
Absolutely. The temperatures are looking like they are sadly dropping for this event. So layers are going to be key. Do you have a specific goal or a couple of goals in mind just for Las Vegas?
Well, it's the first tournament of the season, so I know that I come from snow and dark up in the north, so I can't expect. I'm not trying to put a lot of pressure on myself on this first tournament. I hope I'll be able to put myself in top 10 after a while maybe for the Pro Tour events. So we'll just see how it goes now.
That sounds great. Let's see. Final question for you. We know that you're still throwing an open bag. Can you talk about that decision? Because with this amazing new sponsorship, I know that you could have tied yourself to one or two companies, but you have chosen to stay with an open bag.
Yeah, well, I always played with a mixed bag, so I think the option, or I found it really easy to just stick with what I'm used to. I can pick the best from every brand manufacturer that I have. I do have actually a disc from Buhr in my bag though. But yeah, I didn't see the point of changing everything up now for the 2023 season. So I'm just sticking with what I know.
Wonderful. Well, best of luck to you here, over in Europe, all season long. We're going to be looking forward to checking in with you a lot more.
Thank
you.
you.
We're going to go ahead and wrap it up right there. So please join us in a couple minutes. We'll be right back.
Joining us now is last year's champion here at the LVC, and Catrina Allen. Kat, you were glowing last week. It looked like you were having so much fun at the All-Star Weekend. It was, well, I'll just say, what did you learn from it? A very different setting and atmosphere, of course, in that it was a team-based, but what did you learn from it?
Oh, learn from it. Well, we got a nice taste of the win the first singles round. Gosh, it was a great learning experience. I mean, I was physically shaking in the putting competition and made a lot of great putts. So I was like, okay, I have control of my nerves even when they are physically showing up. Gosh, and then, during the doubles, this off season, I changed my form a little bit, or trying to tweak it to be better. And I realized I really have to focus on my nose angle. With the new form, it's something that can get away from me. So that was really good, and I really zoned in on that this week in practice. So, yeah, I mean, fun and learning. It was a great way to start the season.
Yeah, and now things obviously will get competitive in a different sense, in that we're going to see the regular singles play. You know, last year you came into this event, you had a brand new sponsor in DGA, and you won.
Yeah.
It felt like it almost immediately put to bed or put to rest any questions of are the discs ready, are you ready, and everything else. Where's your confidence level now this year? And this, I think, being your 13th year on tour.
Yeah.
Where's your confidence level right now?
It's good. I mean, I notice as I get older, it's not as great as it was, say, when I first was on tour. I feel like you're more aware of what can go wrong. You've seen it all, and so trying to just put that aside and, I don't know, put my head up and my shoulders back and just kind of embrace the season, if you will.
Well, and as we kick off this season opener here for 2023, at least during this calendar year, we're not seeing two of your most regular competitors in Paige and Kristen here. And some would immediately then jump ahead and say, well, this feels like it's Kat's event to win or to lose. What do you think about when you see the field and who else is here who you normally go up against?
You know, I guess for me it just says, yeah, I guess it would be mine to lose, right? But even more pressure to the women who haven't won an Elite Series or things like that. Yeah, it is weird, but I've always focused so much just on my own game plan. You know, it could be 4 of us out here or 70 of the best women, and I try to just really zone in on what I'm doing and stay focused. So.
Well, and that leads to my last question. You're one that basically says, I don't care what the course is, where we're playing, how many holes we're playing, what the conditions are. None of that matters. Just point me and we all play it.
Yep.
So this year, though, for the first time, we're seeing it trimmed back to 2 courses. Would you at least find that favorable? Or do you have any opinion on 2 versus 3 courses?
Yeah, you kind of answered my question in your question. I try not to focus on that. That'll just take me out of my game. It's something kind of silly I can't control and not worth getting upset about. But I guess I'm just looking outside at the dark sky and the 40-degree weather and the drizzle or snow that we're getting, and more being mentally prepared for the conditions is what I'm really thinking about this weekend, not so much the courses themselves, just the wind, the cold. You know, rounds are going to be a little longer, not as smooth, and I think that's going to be the biggest battle for me personally.
And do you like the trim, though, from 3 down to 2? Or does that not even matter to you?
I mean, I guess getting prepared, you know, especially coming from All-Star and only having 3 days to prepare, yes. But I guess we'll see. I don't know. We could play 1 or 5, and I would just show up and do it. So I'm probably the worst to ask.
You go hard no matter what. It doesn't seem to matter, and I love the attitude. Here's Zoe.
Hello, Team Red Cat winner from last weekend. That was so much fun and a great warm-up for really jumping into this Elite Series. And you've had so much success here in Las Vegas, Kat. What is it about Vegas that really pulls the best shots out of you?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just how long I've been playing here, or I'm pretty close with Jess and Jeff Jacquart, so maybe there's a little connection there. And I appreciate how they've grown the event over the years. I also work my butt off in the off season, so maybe it's just easier to come out on, and start. I don't know what everyone else does in the off season, but I don't know if that's maybe the secret to starting off so hot every year at Vegas.
Well, that was actually my next question is you were looking very sharp and looking very prepared, almost like you came straight out of the Tour Championships last weekend. So can you tell us a little bit about, did you take time off, and then when did you come back? How was the off-season practice and preparation?
I didn't actually throw a disc until January 9th. It was a big break, but I think I've kind of talked, not a lot, but a little bit about changing my form. Somewhere over the last few years, I got some bad habits that I just wasn't, to be honest, just having fun. I wasn't having fun throwing the Frisbee, whether it was good or bad. It just didn't feel like my true throw, or wasn't generating power the way I wanted. I didn't feel accurate. And so I personally thought the best way was to just put them down and hope that my mind would forget them. So yeah, that was the biggest thing this off season I really wanted to work on.
And I actually have one last question before I pass it to Brian. Would you care to share maybe your top 1 or 2 season goals for us?
I have a lot of goals, but one would just be accountability. You know, if things are going bad out there, just kind of turning that mirror and looking inner and realizing like it's only because of me. I'm in control of my game and what's going on and how I react to everything that's going on. That's a real big one for me. I think that'll help me get through the long season. And then I want to connect more with my fans this year. It's something I struggle with. I don't necessarily love the limelight. It makes me feel awkward sometimes, but I know I have awesome fans and I really like to spend more time with them after my rounds.
Wow,
So
that's incredible. Well,
Yeah.
good luck this weekend, and we've got Brian Earhart to ask a question or two.
Hello, Kat.
Hey.
Just one question for you.
Okay.
You mentioned a couple times you're working on your form. You told me at Throw Pink that you were beginning to make some swing changes, and then a month ago you posted a video on Instagram of you working on those changes. I'd love to just know the specifics. What are you trying to get out of the form change? And then also, how are you actually trying to implement them? How are you practicing the form changes?
It's just like if you looked at my form in 2016 and then say even just last year, they don't even look like the same person. And I felt so confident and so great. And like I said, I'm not really sure where that went wrong. But just kind of getting back to that form, maybe even a little bit better version of that, you know, now that we've have people who are dissecting form, yourself included, you know, or just the more knowledge we have. Just trying to make it smoother. Accurate is the number one thing. And then if I get some more distance, that would be great.
So are you saying that you're kind of studying old footage of yourself throwing? Is that kind of what you're
yes
looking
and
for?
no. It's just crazy how it evolved so quickly in such a short time. And when I think of how great I felt off the tee, you know, a good thing to think about is I felt like I putted tremendous last year and my putt feels great right now. So I just want to see, like, you know, when I was feeling that confident off the tee and then on the how those could go together.
Of course, we have a long
Yeah.
season for you to keep making those changes, but good luck this week, and we will
Okay.
be right back.
Thanks.
And joining us now is Ohn Scoggins. And Ohn, during the off season, you had the chance to go home to Laos to visit your family. Talk about what that meant to you and to your family to go visit them.
Well, you know, didn't see them for over 4 years, like probably 4.5, almost 5 years. And I been there and I didn't tell anybody. I just go there and surprise them. The first person I surprised was my sister. She was like blow her head away. She was like, "Who is that?" And she was yowling, she was crying. And after that, and then we make plan to surprise my whole family. And like you see it in the video, my brother was like, yeah, the tear coming out, and it's amazing. And, you know, a lot of eating, a lot of celebration. like almost 2 months, they're just eating and celebration. So
All right. Sounds like a really good off season to me.
Yeah.
Last weekend, you were the captain, and you went up against Kat, who was just here, who ultimately was able to defeat your team, even though it looked like you guys had a really good time.
Yeah.
But I'll ask the same question I asked her. What did you learn last weekend? What did you learn about either the people or golf or your game or anything? What did you learn while being a team captain last week?
I just feel like, what do you think? I just feel like learn how to communicate with my girl more.
Yeah.
And understand what they're feeling, what they want, and the most important, like they really want more than me, and I don't need to pressure them anything. But it just make myself feel like, yeah, I can be a captain, why not? It's easier than I thought. And work with this lady, they're just so smart, like you don't need to tell them anything. They got their own thing. But also, maybe I might have to change a little bit the skill, maybe, if anything I have to, learn. Maybe just kind of like study my lady, what they what do you call?
What skill you put them in, where you
match
pointed
for
them?
them. Yeah. So, this is the first time, but hey, now I know what they actually good with, specific ones. So yeah.
Well, and speaking of skills, you come in as the highest rated woman at this tournament, rated 977. How do you like your chances at this course, at this tournament, or these two courses? How do you like your chances to win and to take it down here?
You mean Las Vegas?
This weekend, right here.
Not in this weather, not in this snow, not in this rain and windy.
But everybody's got to play in it.
I know. I mean, I'm not gonna tell myself that I'm going to win this tournament because I never be close. The most close I got, it was top 5. The course is so long, and the windy doesn't help me anything here. But you never know. I'll give it a try, but I think in my head who's gonna win. I already know.
Uh-oh.
But I'm not gonna tell you all.
You're not going to tell me?
No, I'm
It's
not
a
gonna tell
secret.
you all. It's a secret, but I think I might, got a lottery in my head. But like I said, as I'm not gonna take myself too high when my arm cannot even reach. I'm go with the real life. So.
Okay, well, my last question then is, even though you're the highest rated woman here in the FPO division, you can play Masters. You've obviously found success in World Championships there. What decides whether you'll play Masters or FPO?
I just feel like I can hang with young lady quite a long time. I feel like, but also, of course, I have a chance to play APO, but I feel like I don't need right now.
Okay.
I feel like I can go along with this lady as long as my arm not falling off yet. But like I said, I have a high rating, but it doesn't mean you can win everything. I see a lot of people have a high rating, they can get beat by a low rating people. That's why I said anything sure is not sure. Rating, yeah, I see a lot of people get beat by a low rating all the time, so it's nothing new in here. So.
All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck. Here's Zoe.
Thank you so much. Hey.
Ohn, it's so nice to see you again. I got to hang out with you last weekend, though, and it was a fantastic start to the entire season.
Oh, we're having fun with you.
Absolutely. I want to go back, though, to your off season. One quick question about visiting home. Back in Laos, do they understand? Do they know what disc golf is, and do they know about your success back home?
Yeah, a lot of explain, a lot of showing video, a lot of, because my family understand what I'm doing, but none of my friends out there would understand. They ask me, "Hey, Ohn, what are you doing out there?" I said, "I'm professional disc golf." They said, "What? What do you mean? What? What's it?" And then I have to show them, just like this. I said, "Oh, okay." But of course, they're not get it. But that's why, in the future, I want to build the course, and I want to bring the people or the kids and just try it, because I know a lot of people out there. I think they're gonna be so good. these people they can play good disc golf out there.
I'd say it's pretty obvious just by
Yeah.
watching your success.
But my two brother try it though. My two brother, they throw here and there, they throw very good. So I'm like, man, I'm very surprised, you know.
So did you bring a few discs with you?
Yes. I think I bring over 10 discs, but I leave it for my family for souvenir. I give it to my friends, my sister, my brother-in-law. You know, like just give it because the one I have my tour series. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, let's switch gears and talk about disc golf, the season and this tournament. Ohn, how much were you practicing disc golf on the course throughout your off season?
None.
Awesome. Well, when did you start practicing for this season?
Probably the end of January.
Okay.
Yeah, because the last time I had played was November 17, Phoenix Lady Open, and then after that, the day after, I drove to my house, packed up, and then fly home the next day, and then until I come home on January 6th. Still not play because I'm jet lagged for 2 weeks, and then after that, yeah, I'm probably like practice like the end of January. That's why my game is just, oh my god.
Nah.
My game, my part. Oh.
But we do want to ask, now that you are practicing again, how much time specifically are you putting?
I'm go from, normally, if I'm back home, at least a 300 putt, at least 300 putt a day. Wow. And I try to play 2 rounds a day, and then putting like maybe from 30 or 1 hour for the putting. Can be from over 300 to, who knows, 5 or 600, whatever, depend on how crazy my arm can handle. But it's from now on, it's gonna be practice hard for me to catch up.
Thank you for sharing that, because it is definitely the talk about your laser putt. And so I think it's important for the people to understand how much work and time is put in
It
there.
is, yeah. It is, because most of the lady I know who, like, they very good putt, I asking them, like, I say, hey, don't lie to me. How many putt a day you make? Some of them said, like, 1 hour straight, like, big stack of putting, 600. I'm like, 600? And then I putting like almost 200. I thought I'm the best. Like I'm like, oh, I'm putting hard right here. And then when I heard somebody say 600, I'm like, it's make me like shame on myself. Like I'm like, oh come on, Ohn, you can do it too. Maybe half of her.
So maybe very motivating.
Yeah.
Well, let me switch to just one last question here before we wrap up your interview. Looks like you have a new method for touring this year. Can you tell us a little bit about how you'll be touring?
Touring? Oh, I got a van. Yeah, I got a van. Oops. So it's the first hand for me, but second hand for somebody. But I absolutely exciting about it. I got a van, so I built the bed and put a lot of stuff under there. So you guys gonna see me rock and roll with my van and sleeping in there. I got solar panel, some battery and internet, hotspot, whatever you call it, food, all kind of thing. Yeah, it's gonna be big time this year.
Very cool. Well, we're wishing you the best of luck. We can't wait to see you shine and that big smile with big putts. Good luck this weekend and all season long.
Thank you
so
much.
We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Joining us now is Anthony Barela, otherwise known as AB. And AB, you were one of the big conversation pieces during the off season with regard to you initially announcing that you were going to leave Innova, and then there was a slight pause, and we saw you sign on with Discraft. A couple weeks ago, you picked up your first win of the year.
Yep.
Does that answer our questions about how prepped you are, or is there still more work to be done?
I feel pretty confident with my bag right now. It was a bit shaky towards the beginning of the season at the Shelly Sharp. Just having a bag of just brand new discs is so weird, like, because I'm so used to having beat up plastic, but took the last month or so just beating the crap out of my discs, so now they all feel like perfect in my hands, so I'm super confident.
Is there anything in particular that you find yourself really leaning on, whether it's a mold or just a style of disc or a particular, set of discs? What are you leaning on?
Leaning on the buzz a lot, because I've never had a mid-range fly like that, like my whole life, just never thrown the buzz really, and then I fell in love with it instantly, so I've been throwing the buzz a ton.
All right, and I think another big question that seems to keep looming is where exactly are you with college life, your obligations? Where exactly does that stand right now as you're about to kick off 2023?
So I'm 100% online this year, so I'm going to be at every single pro tour. So that's very exciting, super excited for that. Finally get to fully commit to the road, but still have the school, which is going to be easy online, so I'm not worried about that.
No sweat. How much time do you feel like, if you stay on your path or your projected path, how much time online in terms of, are we talking a semester or two yet? What do you have left?
If I've taken full schedules, just 2 semesters, but I'm probably just going to space it out more, so just to give myself like the not full stress of school, but...
All right, well, that's going to be exciting. Now, what do your tour plans look like in terms of how you're going to go out there and who you're going to tour with?
Me and Adam Hammis, he just bought a new big truck, so we're going to be taking that around the whole country all year long.
And now, as we just said, you feel a little bit more comfortable. You picked up a win a couple weeks ago. What do you feel like you really need to hone in specifically to maintain focus, to maintain some of that momentum, whether it's this weekend and into the next few months?
Yeah, it's just about being present for every single shot I step up to. That's something I've struggled with in the past few years. And so I feel like if I stay present for every single shot, I could easily be a top 5 player every weekend.
And then my last question kind of leads right into that, which... there's so many people that are rooting for you to get a huge win. Yeah. Everybody says it's inevitable. You're probably thinking or hoping that it's inevitable. What do you say to those people that are sitting around kind of holding their breath, waiting for that big breakout win from you?
I mean, I'm feeling more confident than I ever have in my life, so I feel like it's coming very soon. So I'm hopeful.
All right, maybe even multiple majors right off the bat this year.
That would be nice.
Anthony Barela, I've got Zoe Endike, and I've got Brian Earhart here. One of them is going to ask you some questions.
All right.
That's how this works, I guess.
Hi, Anthony.
Hey.
I also want to congratulate you on Discraft.
Thank you.
Really, in doing my homework for this press conference, I think a lot of people out there that aren't in the know are wondering what you're putting with.
I'm putting with it's like a Jawbreaker rubber blend Focus right now.
Okay, and is that what you first chose, or did you have to go through some putters before you?
I definitely tested them all out, and then I really liked the mold of the Focus, but I struggled to find the perfect plastic at first, but then they finally gave me just a blend that's super, super stiff, super grippy, which is my favorite kind of putter.
Last question from me is, out here in the elements, what are you going to be leaning into as far as tools in the bag for off the tee?
I'm definitely going to be throwing the Venom a lot. It's holding up in the headwinds just fine, so I'm not too worried about the wind. I actually hope it picks up this week because I like playing in the wind.
Nice. Well, good luck this weekend and all season long. Here's Brian.
Hello, Anthony.
Hello, Brian.
A couple questions for you. Talk about the Venom in more detail. Was this part of your deal signing with Discraft that they were going to design a disc for you, or did it just so happen that they were designing a new distance driver before you came?
They had it in the works before I came, and then I just kind of tagged along with it because it just felt great. As soon as I felt it, I was like, I want this to be my Tour Series disc. This is what I want. That was the real deciding factor of what brought me towards Discraft was that Frisbee.
And sorry to keep asking questions about discs. You've been throwing Innova for so long, since you were a little kid, and I know that your family throws Innova and whatnot, but you mentioned to Terry that you have never thrown a mid-range like a Buzz, and you fell in love with it. And the Buzz Rock debate has been something that's happened for decades. What exactly is that difference?
Just a lot more torque resistance. I can throw it flat as hard as I can, and it won't dump over. Like in the past, I'd had to like hyzer flip mid ranges, but now with the Buzz, I can just power on it nice and flat, and it won't ever dump over to the right.
Question for you, kind of piggybacking off something that Terry said. A lot of people who have watched you over the years have questioned, and for whatever reason this may be, maybe because you were going to college, they questioned your motivation in regards to committing to disc golf as a full-time career. You are still going to college. When you graduate, are you going to look for something in your major, or is that degree going to be kind of on the back burner until you take disc golf as far as you can?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be on the back burner. I'm not getting out of disc golf anytime soon. No way.
Well, with that said, I'm just going to say good luck to you this week, AB, and we will see you out there. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Joining us now is Holyn Handley. And Holyn, last weekend you had your first opportunity at the All-Star weekend, and kind of give us what your thoughts were on that and the experience.
Oh, it was super fun. It was a very different vibe than a tournament. It was a lot more laid back, still a little competitive, but it was nice to kind of get in front of a crowd and get in front of cameras again, because I'd been kind of holed up in off-season mode. I was like, oh, yeah, there's people watching now. But it was also great that it got super windy and gave me kind of a chance to test out the new bag in kind of windy conditions. So,
well, and that leads to thinking back to 2 years ago, almost to the day. You took a chance on coming to this event, played in your first Elite Series event. You ultimately went on to cash. You were very new to the sport of disc golf, but you cashed. And now we fast forward 2 years later, you've got a new sponsor, and you're a full-time professional disc golfer. I think my question would be, where did these 2 years go, and what has it meant to you?
Yeah, it's been pretty wild because it's very different than what I thought my life and career were going to look like. We picked up disc golf just kind of on a whim. And it's been pretty crazy, actually, and just super fun and very fulfilling. The relationships we've made along the way have been some of the best friends we've had. So I think we're very happy with where we are right now.
Now, last weekend at the All-Star break, you said you got to not only play in front of the cameras and people and crowds, trying out some of that new plastic. Some of your parts of your game when we were watching, I felt like were rock solid and there was 100% confidence, and some didn't feel like it was quite there yet. Did you feel the same, or was it just an off weekend?
I think in some ways it was just a little bit of getting back used to, competing and being in front of the crowd. I know my putt wasn't looking as solid as it's been all off season, but I think as I get back comfortable and get kind of back into the groove of playing week in and week out, that'll pick right back up because my putt's been looking better than ever in the off season. So I'm not really worried about it. And in my mind, that was just kind of shaking some of the rust off.
And so in changing not only to new plastic, was there anything about your game or your mechanics that you also felt like, hey, now's a good time to address this, or to, maybe reflect or look upon anything that you were doing with your mechanics? Any changes there?
Yeah, I did make a pretty good change to my backhand. My friend Josh, who works with Overthrow, he does a coaching business. He kind of pointed out a weird little wristy twisty, as I was calling it, in my backswing that was kind of messing with my disc angles. And so I spent probably about 2.5 months trying to get rid of that. And the result has been a lot better angle control. So in general, a little bit more nose down. I'm able to throw Anheuser's a lot easier, and kind of indirectly I've gotten a little bit more distance out of that, but really the shot shaping has been the biggest improvement for me.
Well, glad to hear you've addressed your wristy twisty.
Wristy twisties.
And we're looking forward to it in 2023. Here's Zoe.
Hello, Holyn.
Hey.
Welcome to Las Vegas. Wasn't that far of a travel from Tucson, and as Terry mentioned, we got the warm up last weekend.
Yep.
So coming in injury free, feeling good?
Yeah, feeling really good. I mean, I was feeling a little tired after All Stars because that was a lot of walking and a lot of really big throws, but been managing the fatigue just fine, and very excited to be back in Vegas.
Well, I also want to congratulate you on Discraft, and for all of those out there that don't know, can you tell us what you're going to be driving with all weekend, and what are you putting with?
So my go-to drivers right now are going to be nukes and forces. I've got nukes from everywhere from understable to overstable. I think if the wind picks up, I'll be leaning on the new Venom and the nuke OS for those headwind shots. And then I'm putting with Challenger SS.
Awesome. Let's see. So breaking the season down into chunks, do you have specific expectations for this first quarter, or even just for this event?
I don't have a ton of expectations in terms of placement. I'm more just trying to get better at kind of turning my brain off and like letting the golf happen. So my goals, as always, are just a little more process based, just kind of being in the moment and letting my game just kind of do its thing. So.
And would you say for an overall generalization of the season, same focus, or do you have that world title or an Elite Series win in mind?
I mean, yeah, obviously every event I go into, I want to win. But what I want to avoid is almost wanting it too much. Because sometimes when I want to win too much, the little mishaps that inevitably happen even in a good round of golf will kind of annoy me a little more than they probably should, and that can kind of derail things. So really it's just staying in the right headspace. And I think that will eventually lead to some good results.
Thank you for sharing about that. I think it's pretty important for all of our viewers, anybody that's aspiring to be on the tour. So one last question for me is, what are you looking forward to the most this tour season outside of the disc golf?
Oh man, I mean, this year we're definitely going to try to see some more sightseeing. We're going to hit up Yellowstone before on our way from Portland to DDO. We're trying to see more shows and stuff. Like we went and saw Cirque du Soleil with a big friend group last night. So just having my boyfriend on the road and this kind of being our full-time lifestyle now, we can kind of do more fun stuff outside of disc golf.
Excellent. Well, good luck this weekend. And here's Brian Earhart.
Hello, Holyn.
Hey, Brian.
Couple questions for you. You mentioned that you were trying to fix your wristy twisty, which I do know what you're talking about. You've talked about adjusting your form for quite some time, and you work pretty hard on making form adjustments. I asked the same question to Catrina. How specifically in the practice field do you work on solidifying a form change?
Yeah, so I start with a lot of no disc drills, or maybe shadow swings, as I've heard them called. So it's a lot of just like getting a feel for the movement that I want and going slow enough that I can get it correct. And I'm filming constantly, and then kind of the next step, I'll start throwing into a net. And so I'll just spend hours of throwing into a net, and I film everything. And then I go back and I watch it, and I see, am I seeing the changes that I want to see? And then when that starts to feel good, I might go into a field, and again, still filming every single rep. And so there's a lot of kind of back and forth, where if I see the old form starting to creep back in, I'll go back, slow things down, and then I started doing what I call like combination drills. So where I might do like a no disc drill, a couple reps, and then I might do a standstill, slowed down throw, and then I'll do a full throw. And that kind of helps like get the movement pattern like in my head right before I actually do my full throw. And then again, filming constantly and having that feedback, so I'm making sure I'm ingraining the right movements.
Another question to piggyback off this is this going to be a never-ending process for you as a player? Do you feel like this is something that you will always do, or is it just because you are simply still somewhat new to the sport of disc golf and you feel like you're trying to get to a certain point before you stop filming all the time?
Yeah, I think I may reach a point eventually where it's not really worth the time investment to continue to work on these form things, because like I think at this point, like adding distance isn't really going to make me score that much better, but having the better angle control will, which is why I made this change. So it's really going to just depend on, I will constantly be looking at my form and looking at like, oh, are there things I should change, but changing for the sake of it, I think it'll be looking at like, what's that trade-off? Like, is the time invested going to be worth the result down the line? And I think right now, like this off season, it definitely was, and it might be next off season when I start looking at this stuff again. But like you said, I am still I've only been playing for 3 years, so yeah, I'm not going to be perfect in 3 years.
Last question I have for you. There's always talk in the world of disc golf, because players play for certain manufacturers, the manufacturers call their group of players a team. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people confused and some people frustrated hearing it called a team, because you are playing against your quote-unquote teammates each and every weekend, but seeing you run around the course looking for Nuke S's to fight the wind tomorrow, can you comment on that? Do you feel like it's important to have community with your fellow sponsored players?
Yeah, I mean, on tour in general, like you have community with your competitors regardless of what our sponsors are. You end up finding a group in your kind of chosen family, so to speak, and you support each other and you help each other. So what was great with Discraft is they wanted us to have that with each other on the team. So like you said, with the Nuke S's, I was able to text Aaron and ask him if he had some, and I've been able to text Corey and ask for rides places, and Missy gave me an umbrella. So, like, you know, it's nice that I can reach out to my teammates and they're going to be willing to help me, and likewise, I'd be willing to help them down the line. So.
Well, good luck this week, and obviously good luck the rest of the season, and we will see you out there. We will be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. Joining us now is Simon Lizotte. Simon, of course, congratulations on, well, really everything in life. I know you're a very busy man, and of course, this huge contract through this off season. I guess the question is, can you turn that off? Can you silence some of that noise, that chatter, that chaos, and how do you turn that off and actually focus on golf right now? Or don't you?
No, I think I totally do. I've been playing disc golf my entire life, so it is kind of a bit something like disc golf is like meditating. I think a lot of people would agree that you just go out there and you can shut off all your problems, even though disc golf for me is one of my main problems. But no, I still love throwing. I love the game, and with the big switch, obviously over the off season, I'm just more motivated and excited than probably ever. So it's all good.
Well, I'll jump ahead to a different question then that I had lined up for you, which was, do you feel like there's more pressure this year to equal or exceed what you did last year, or is there less pressure because of your new relationship?
Well, realistically, there's more pressure than last year, because last year there was zero pressure, because I came back from injury and really no expectations at all. And now I know after signing a significant contract, I'll call it, of course there's expectations from people around me, but me for myself, I am not looking at last year as something I need to beat or live up to. It's a different chapter, so I feel like I'm starting at zero, and I'm very excited about it.
So anyone that was questioning how you would adapt, how you would learn, how you would accept and use these new tools, some people feel like you put that question to rest last weekend. I mean, throwing huge shots and then also playing I'm not going to say very good golf. You played great golf. How did it feel to you?
Yeah, well, last week was really fun. I was really looking forward to that all off season. One of my main goals of last year actually was to qualify for the All-Star event, because I want to be part of an All-Star event, because that's my job, I feel like. And the course is laid out for Simon golf. Let's be honest, big hyzers on half of the holes, and the other ones are little floaty mid-range shots. So I had a really good time just playing with less layers than I do over in Massachusetts. The first warm rounds of the year for someone who lives in the cold, the feeling. It's one of the best feelings as a disc golfer to just play in a shorts and t-shirt again. So I was just enjoying it and taking everything in, and my discs, they're discs. At the end of the day, they're just discs, and we know what we're doing. I've been doing it for 25 years, so I was never really worried about it. Of course, the first couple of weeks were very interesting, because I was vlogging a lot, and in Massachusetts we have these super technical courses and trying to hit your lines and figuring out exactly how these discs react. So it was a bit of there was some adaptation time? Is that a word? No, adaptation. Adaptation time. Thank you. Overall, if people were impressed with me last week, I think it was a good start.
Well, you seem to be impressed, or at least happy and content with yourself.
I was happy.
From last week.
I'm going to say shooting the hot round was definitely a little pat on my shoulder. The preparation was worth it.
All right, so my final question will be about preparation here. You just got off the course. You said it was insanely windy for the first 14 holes. Then you had some snow and some other stuff.
Yeah.
Hoping that it's not nearly as bad this weekend. You've already busted out the vest. You said you're 30 and you can wear a vest. What are you thinking about this weekend in terms of what you need to focus on when you're here playing these two courses?
Historically, I've done pretty well on these courses. They're, again, wide open golf courses, and throwing a 500-foot hyzer is a huge advantage on many holes. So I'm going in with low expectations, but obviously knowing that this golf plays towards my strengths. So I know I can. I just got to do it. But I'm kind of a bit of a mental case sometimes with disc golf, because I've been doing it my whole life, and overthinking is the number one thing you can't do on a golf course. So that's what I'm going to really try and do, just to turn off my brain, enjoy the new product, and enjoy the new discs and the new chapter. That's what this tournament is all about. Is really no pressure, just play.
Well, the world's excited to see it. Here's Zoe Andyke.
Hello, Simon.
Hi.
Welcome to Vegas. I think I'm just going to jump right in. Terry asked a lot of my questions, but what do you like most about MVP Plastic or MVP as a whole, as a company? What are your favorite pieces of the Switch that don't have to do with throwing?
There's a lot of reasons why I made the switch. I've said the main one probably now 100 times, which is just I wanted something fresh and different and like a new motivation to do this again. Like, this is going to be my 10th season in the U.S. and for everyone who's been doing it longer than me, like some of these guys that are still out here have been doing it for 15 plus years, and that takes some serious willpower and some, what's the word? If you can do something very long, like a long run.
Longevity, yeah.
Huh? Yeah, I'm just like very impressed with everyone who does this long term, because it is, I mean, it seems like a dream life, and I would say, yeah, for a couple of years it is, but then it's a job, and traveling is so exhausting. So for me, having this thing, first of all, is just a breath of fresh air, and I could do this for another 10 years now, I feel like. So that was the main reason. But other than that, just different discs, different team. I really like how MVP started as a company with the two brothers, kind of like science-y, more of a different approach to the game. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've said it all multiple times. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. Can you throw farther with your new plastic?
I feel like I throw very far right now. Further or farther, I don't know. Hard to say. Maybe a couple feet. I'll give it that.
These are all pressing questions.
We're working on building a robot to throw these discs, and then we'll find out.
Oh.
Because humanly, you just can't test it. There's no way for a human to throw two exact similar shots to really tell the difference. So there's really no point in even trying, because you just can't do it. But we're going to build a robot and do it.
Thank you for sharing that. It's very interesting insider stuff, exciting, and gets the fans watching the MVP results and kind of feeling to throw their plastic. So one last question for me before I pass it over. What are you looking forward to this season the most that doesn't have anything to do with disc golf?
That doesn't? I mean, I would have to say my son probably growing up. He just turned 1 2 weeks ago. And he's almost walking, so I'm really looking forward to that, even though all parents tell me you don't want them to walk because then they'll just run away constantly. But I'm looking forward to it, and I think once that first year's done as a parent, like the milestones just come hitting even faster. So I'm looking forward to him becoming a human.
Well, congratulations. You look very happy as a father, and you look great with this new MVP sponsorship on. So good luck this weekend. We're going to stand down for a short break.
Thank you.
Joining us now is our 2012 world champion in Sarah Hokom. And Sarah, last weekend you also were at the All-Star event, and knowing that you've had so many years on tour and experienced tour life and made this your professional career, what does it mean to you and what does it feel like to be at an event like the All-Stars last weekend that was built just for you guys?
Yeah, I really like the change of pace from this hardcore grinding individual event to just this team atmosphere. A lot of women come from team sports to begin with, so I think it really brings it home to be able to like root for each other in just a more notable way. And so it's really fun to start the season that way, because these relationships develop over time, and I'm really excited for all of Team Red. I mean, Team Blue, they're cool too.
Yeah, you'll be seeing and playing against them now the rest of the year. So to close out 2022, you had a second and a third at the 2 Silver Series events, and that brings you into first place for the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings.
Got to start somewhere.
Does that feel weird?
It does. It does feel a little weird.
Do you like the idea of the wraparound season and exactly where we're at and how that has transpired?
I mean, I'm kind of neutral on whether that's something that should be there in the future. I mean, the season's really long as it was, but I did realize the opportunity that existed to continue to grind it out at the end of last season, and understood that if I can get a heads up on the next season, that's the best play for me, and I think it paid off.
And then speaking of your best play, you, Ohn, Jennifer Allen, all eligible to be playing in some FP 40 divisions or events. How will you pick or choose, whether it's like a Callie McMorran Masters Tour event or any other event? When will you pick and choose where you're going to compete?
At this point, I'm still competitive with FPO, and the Pro Tour offers the best opportunity for women at this point. So for most events, I am going to play the Pro Tour. And unfortunately, a lot of Callie's events fall on the weekends I have off, and then I have had to schedule off in order for my 40-year-old body to keep up.
Okay.
So I probably won't be playing as many of those this year, but I think in a couple of years that will certainly be part of the equation for me.
Okay, and then my last one is that you've always been advocating for tees that appropriately challenge and reflect the skills of the FPO competitors. In this event in particular, you've been a little bit, I'll say outwardly is the word I used, outwardly critical of the courses. So do you feel like they're getting closer? Are we there yet? Do these courses now, with some adjustments, are they fulfilling what you're looking for? Are they there yet?
They're not there yet, but they made progress. I think this year tightening up the OB increases the risk reward on a bunch of the distance holes, so our distance throwers are going to have to make a choice. They don't get just to throw without penalty. If they don't throw it perfectly, they are going to be out of bounds. So I think it actually does tightening up some of those OBs on the longer holes. I think that it's actually going to play better for like better scoring and score separation, or better scoring for. Hold on. It's not going to play better scoring. It's going to favor a player that doesn't actually throw a distance shot that far. But unfortunately, it's not going to be compelling to watch. And that's really what I'm advocating for, is that we have compelling scoring for our viewership, to build viewership for the FPO division. So I don't think they made the mark yet, but I did talk to the course designer, and he said he's very open to adding FPOTs. So I think that this is just one more step. I mean, the fact that we only play 2 courses this year is really important, because we can really dial in those shots. And then his willingness to look into adjusting some of the holes in the future, I think that's a really important step. So we're not there, but we're getting there.
All right. Well, best of luck to you this weekend, and here's Zoe Andike.
Sarah Hokom, a vet on tour, some say. A lot of experience at this event, and just a lot of experience over the last more than decade playing these tour events. How does it feel coming out in 2023?
Every year is different, and this excitement behind the sport, and then, the continual improvement of the courses and the media and the payouts and the field strength. It's just like a new year for me, and I'm just going to keep grinding it out and do the best I can, and I'm just glad to still be here.
And I like that you said that. It feels like a new year for me. And with each new year, we're seeing so many of these young FPO players, whether they're traveling over from other countries or popping up out of the United States. We've got a pretty thick talent pool. And speak to that being one of the vets on tour with such signature shots and a signature game.
Yeah, it's fun to watch the game develop, and to watch the FPO field in general just rise in ability and get deeper in depth. Deeper in depth. So that's really fun, and it's pushing all of us to get better, is myself included. I've been working really hard at a backhand, just with that understanding that I can't just throw sidearm turnovers anymore all the time, and we're seeing more women adding every shot to their game. It's something that we saw in the men's game about a decade ago. So we're getting there, and it's really, I think that the payout has allowed the women to really focus on their game rather than side hustling and having off-season jobs. This winter was the first time I didn't work in the off-season. So it's allowing women to really focus in on their game and spend their time training rather than trying to pay their bills.
Excellent. So let's talk about your personal health, and are you injury-free entering this season?
For the most part, I have had some like elbow stuff going on that's a little bit new, but I've been talking with my trainer, Seth, and then also just working through it. I know it's just something that I'm working through as my ligaments kind of snapped back to normal over the off season, even though I did play a lot. So it's just a matter of building them back up to their full strength. And so I would say I'm about 80% on the sidearm, but I'm going to go 110 on the backhand because it's better than I've ever thrown it. So maybe it's evening itself out.
All right. Absolutely. Well, last question from me, and we know that you've got a lot of other things that you like to balance. You're always looking, whether it's the PDGA Women's Committee or other things, what are some of the outside of disc golf things that you're looking to put some energy in or focus on, or that just excite you besides the playing disc golf this year?
I really enjoy connecting with the local community when I have time. So a lot of my off weeks I have this year especially, I have about half a dozen events planned. I'm calling them Hokomania Flex Starts. So look for those to happen, and it's just a way to connect with everybody and play a little tournament. I always give a sidearm clinic at my event. So look out for those, check my social media, and you can come to one hopefully.
I love the name. I'm wishing you the best this weekend and all season long. Here's Brian Earhart.
Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Brian.
A couple questions for you. First, some praise. I have to give you tons of praise on the backhand progress. Watched you at the skills competition at the All-Star Weekend, and you pinned multiple backhands in a row. And after all these years to be able to adapt the way that you have, being a sidearm dominant player, it's so impressive. And I just have to say, how much of your time now, maybe in the practice field or on the course before a competition, is spent backhand, and how much of it is spent forehand, maybe percentage-wise?
Well, this off-season, it's probably been 90-10 backhand sidearm. So that is, and I'm looking to move it to, instead of 90-10 sidearm backhand, I'm hoping to move my game a little closer to 70-30, 60-40 throughout the year.
And then with the forehand, after all these years, do you feel like there's actual field work to be done with the forehand, or does it kind of feel like riding a bike at this point and you can kind of just point and shoot?
Yeah, field work comes into play when I'm trying to learn a new mold. Or if I do have some kind of weird hitch in my stroke, I'll go work through it, but that doesn't actually happen that often. So really the field work is mostly backhand at this point.
So then really the last question that I have, making the switch to the backhand, I've met a lot of forehand dominant players that have learned the backhand and then they feel like they're taking reps away from their forehands, so they're kind of in between. But for you being so experienced with the forehand, do you feel like switching to the backhand has been a big benefit, not only just for the options it gives, but also for the physical benefits?
Yeah, both. Especially, both in my game, but the physical benefits also, it seems to be a little bit less hard on my body and my joints to throw backhands. Maybe that's because I haven't thrown them to excess yet. But yeah, I'm hoping that it increases my longevity. And also, there is a little more distance to be had in a backhand. I think we can all agree on that. So I'm hoping that I can add a little a distance shot with a backhand that I just, at this point is kind of unachievable. Sidearm, I've gotten as far as I can kind of get there. So yeah, I'm really, who knows what could happen. I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Well, it's been fantastic to watch it evolve after all these years, and I commend you for that, and also I wish you good luck this week. And with that said, we will be right back after a short break.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. We have Luke Samson joining us now. And Luke, I'm going to ask same question I just asked Sarah Hokom. Does it feel weird to say that you're the points leader of the 2023 Disc Golf Pro Tour season? Does that sound weird to you?
A little bit, just because there were 2 Silver Series at the end of the year that not a full field were attended at. But it feels weird just knowing that a lot of people know that, and I got kind of a little target on my back for sure.
And so not only did you win it, but you beat Chris Dickerson by 4, and then the next place was, I think, 8 behind that, 8 strokes behind that. So you won it in dominant fashion. What are some of the things, even though it was a few months ago, that maybe you bottled up that you'd love to sprinkle out on the grounds here of the Wild Horse course?
You mean like bottled up? What do you mean?
Like anything that you either could take away from that you learned, or that was maybe clicking or working well for you that weekend?
Yeah, I was just trying to. It was kind of like I made a couple decisions in my life before that. Like, well, the owner of Castplass was coming in the week after, and I knew it was like I didn't have the best year coming into that. So it was a lot of pressure for me to perform, and I think for me, pressure is good. So just keep the pressure, knowing that I can't get too relaxed out there, because when I do, it's, focus for me is I just got to stay focused on every shot.
So I guess that begs the question, did Castplass send a rep to kind of watch over you all season long, every single event, so they could keep that pressure on you?
No, they didn't. I think I'm probably the only one out here. Obviously, Clay and Ian will be on the road as well this year, so we're just keeping each other accountable.
Well, and that leads to saying that you're one of the players that didn't switch sponsors. Mm-hmm. So what is it about being comfortable and not having to maybe go through that grind or that routine or those learning curves that some of the others are? You're going to have the same bag. Mm-hmm. What's that going to be like, and how comfortable are you with it?
Well, it's kind of nice being on Castplass as an open bag, so I'm only allowed to throw 3 molds that aren't Castplass. So those molds have been changing, and one of the big things I've been working on in these off months, or just I've been playing a lot of tournaments still, but in this not the Elite Series, is a power grip. I used to go to the power grip a bunch when I was not playing tournaments, throwing a lot further, but in tournaments I've been staying to like a stacked span grip. But this just more recently been really throwing the power grip, and I've been throwing these Glidey Emperors that have been feeling really good in the hand. So I've been throwing a little further. My bag is, approach all the way up to like 13 speed. It's all Castplass, and I got like the same discs that I had for like 3 years. So they're dialed. I love them. Up here is the elevation. I'm able to throw something a little flippier, which is nice. So it's good.
Yeah, that's got to feel good. And again, we see other people with different pressures having to learn new bags. And then also recently we saw the new video drop of yourself, and it's been very well received. What has been the feedback that you've received, I guess, is maybe the better question.
It's been too much for me to I go on my phone. I just can't. It's too overwhelming. So I've been kind of trying to just not look at it too much these last couple of days, because, like I said, I feel like I have a target on my back, and I know that this was kind of my breakout performance 3 years ago when I came out here. I made lead card, and it was like when I just had started, and then I ended up just doing terrible on camera after that, and then the year after that didn't even cash, and then this most recent year I came in 10th. So knowing, and every time I come here, I've just been on that driving range for a stupid amount of time. So I've been making sure that I've been being out there a bunch and just staying prepared.
All right, you're dialed and ready to go.
Yeah.
Sounds like Zoe Andike's got a question for you.
Cool.
Luke, how you doing today?
Good, Zoe. How are you?
I'm great. Luke, I've heard in multiple different platforms and even word on the tour that you're like the ultimate grinder. Can you tell us how many events you're planning to play this year?
I think around 40. It's a little less than years past. I think the last 3 years I was played over 40 every year, and then this year, I'm going to go to Europe, so I'm going to take weeks off before and after, and I'm not going to play after the championship this year. Usually I'll play a bunch of events in the Carolinas afterwards and stuff. So I'll probably shorten it up that way, just so I can maybe spend more time with family.
And let's talk about that, if you will, quote, ultimate grind thing you've got going on. Is it just purely the love of the game? It's staying busy? What is it?
Yeah, probably more just me trying to prove myself more than anything else. It is a lot of fun a lot of times, but sometimes it'd be cool if I just could stay in one spot, and if I want to play, just play a course for fun, But it's definitely me trying to just prove myself. Yeah.
But enjoying it.
Yeah,
nonetheless.
I definitely enjoy it, and I've come used to the just living on the road. So it's nice. I love just waking up. I'm on the course, and it's super easy for me to get reps all day, and that's kind of why it comes it's like 2 and 2 go together. If you live on the course and everybody sees you at the course, they just kind of think you're. Well, I mean, I'm on the course throwing all the time, but yeah, they go together for sure.
And I know you talked a bit about the sponsorship, but you have now been with Castoplast for 3 years?
This is my third year.
Third year, okay. And what's your favorite disc in the bag, man?
I'd say, it's a tough question. I think I throw the Reco X the most just because it's like slightly overstable putter, and that could be thrown in the open and in the woods, and it's a putter you throw it all the time. But out here, I'd say the Lutz, because up here in the elevation, it just glides so well. And then in the woods, the Falk is super special. It's like a Sidewinder style disc that you just throw on a hyzer flip and get it going right, and that's probably one of my favorites.
Well, thank you for sharing and talking about Castoplast. I feel like we need to hear more and see more, just because it's one of the companies that it's been nice to see you represent on tour, and we're going to see a whole lot more of it. So good luck this weekend, and here's Brian Earhart.
Hello, Luke.
What's up, Brad?
I just have one question for you before we wrap up. First off, the Samson documentary was fantastic, and I think it captured your essence as a person, especially as a hard worker and a deep thinker, so well. Do you feel like the deep thinking, how reflective you are, how much you like solitude, do you think that came from pushing yourself off the cliff and going on tour, or do you feel like you were like that beforehand and it led you to make that decision?
I was definitely like that beforehand. Even before when I was playing baseball in college, there was multiple times where before the season I would just go off into the woods by myself for 4 days in a row and just camp out and just try to get my mind right. I don't know why I started being like that. I think just everybody knows how stressful the world can be, and for me, it's nice for me not to have to deal with that sometimes. So I like to get away. Yeah, and it's easy to do. I know. That's the easy part about disc golf too. So a lot of times you're just out there on the course by yourself. So it's not a lot of thinking, and it's just a nice time.
Well, I think a lot of people are excited to see you throw Castoplast all season again. There's a lot of fans out there that are super excited for you. Congratulations on the documentary. It was fantastic. If you haven't seen it, please watch it on Disc Golf Network. It was fantastic. We will be right back. Good luck this week.
Thank you, Brian. Welcome back, everyone. Joining us now is Scott Merritt, our assistant tournament director. And Scott, I got to say, earlier we talked to Jessica, and it seems like she's got all her ducks in a row. So my question is, what are you doing?
Well, Jessica and I have different roles here. I can sit back and let her do her thing. She can hopefully sit back and let me do my thing. So, it's a good symbiotic relationship we've got going on. So,
what are some of the things that you focus on? I know earlier I mentioned that there's almost 550 total competitors here among all the divisions. What are some of the things that you specifically focus on?
I focus on the courses and making sure everything's ready for competition. I want to make sure that if our FA2 competitors come out, they have that same experience that our elite field has. It's really important, I think, to give them that shot to see what an elite event is like. That's going to keep them coming back. It's going to get them hooked. And it's a nice apples-to-apples comparison. They can compare themselves if Zoe was playing the event and, say, hey, Zoe shot this, I shot this. It's just a nice feeling. Plus, when they come through the door and see the courses and see, our vendor tent, see the media that's here, it's an amazing. I've just got such overwhelming reactions from those AM players. It's great.
Yeah, and that maybe almost provides a little insight into my next question, which is a lot of people say, hey, we'd love to see this split up over multiple weekends because we want more people want to come play. You guys have to turn away so many competitors. But talk about the struggles and the reality as to why that solution isn't really viable.
Well, the struggles here is, their golf revenue is greater than even what we bring them for the week. So, we've got a great partnership with Wild Horse. They're essentially more of a partner rather than a vendor for the event. It's not just we're paying them to be here. They bring us sponsorships. They've brought Volvo in. John Waddington, the general manager, has brought us so much to the event. I mean, he's even told us that if he wasn't working for the facility, if he ever stopped, he'd come to be a volunteer, which is great. But the reality is that it costs us so much a day, broken down to reserve this. If we go over 2 weekends, then essentially we'd have to double the size of the event. So rather than over 550 players, we'd be looking at 1,100 some players just to make ends meet and make that, not essentially the payout, but to cover our costs. Vegas is a big city. It's a convention city. So even though we have 550 players, double that spectators, we've got caddies, support personnel, family coming in. So it's a huge number out here. It's really kind of small compared to some of the business that's here, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I was going to say, people are coming to Vegas regardless, and as much as you guys do put on this incredible event, like you said, we're kind of just a small stone in the in the pond.
But growing, we're growing. It's getting bigger and bigger every year. If you look back, this is our 24th year doing the LVC and other names. It started out in 2000 as a C tier, 46 players. So it's grown to what it is now, which is just a testament to the staff and the volunteers that we have working the event.
And then speaking to that growth, a little earlier we talked to Sarah Hokom, and you had also said you take a lot of pride, of course, in the courses, but what is kind of the long-range plan in terms of course development, course adjustments, and what are some of the things that you're focusing on?
Well, like this year, I know Jeff Spring talked about it too, and Jessica did. We're going to the 2-course format so that we can, comply with what the DGPT wants us to do. And I think a lot of us were a little hesitant with that because everybody wants to play the 3 courses. There's some old school players that they want to do that, where Worlds was you play 6 courses over 4 days. And, we know that the pros, they want to concentrate in and be able to dial in, have the best performance for everybody out there on that 1 or 2 courses. So we're a bit hesitant, but now we're looking at it, we're like, we can make the Millennium course, we can make that a MPO, just this tough, long, challenging course, or we can now look at the Infinite course, and that could be our FPO course, and we can make that, I don't want to say easier, but more attackable, more scoreable, and make it more exciting for that field. And then the Innova course now becomes our professional-only course, whether you be, in the elite field or if you're a master's level pro. They're going to be out there, so we can tighten that up, make that more difficult, more challenging, make it a little less forgiving. Last year, one of my comments that I got from Drew was, if you go back to last year, hole 5, the last day, he threw a shot that was almost 600 feet. He's circle 2 jump putting for an eagle. And one of his competitors threw a shot that wasn't very good. He was in the trees, but he managed to make a great scramble, get a birdie. Well, Drew got a birdie as well, and Drew said, well, it wasn't as punitive as it should have been. I had a great drive, and he didn't have a good drive, but we ended up with the same score. So with that, we've added some OB, added some challenge, and hopefully, that makes a difference down the stretch.
All right. Well, my final question would be, I know you not only from this role here, but also as a solid professional player yourself and a guy that's been around quite a while. Does it ever get easier to not compete when you're here on a weekend like this?
No, I want to compete so bad. Yeah, I want to be out there. I know I play MP50, but I want to be out there with, John Baldwin. I want to be out there with Robert Bainbridge. A couple of years ago when I was 50, I'm like, I'm not going to be assistant TD this year. I'm going to play. So I had a great time. But I want to be out there, guys, because there's such a great camaraderie in the sport. We have a commonality with everybody playing, and I just want to be out there. But I also have a great time bringing it to everybody and bringing this experience to everybody. So.
Well, the Disc Golf Pro Tour and the entire world appreciates the sacrifices you and the rest of the crew put on so that we can have the show that we do have here. So thank you very much. Here's Zoe Endike.
Hi, Scott.
How you doing, Zoe?
Good, thank you. Just a couple of easy questions here. What makes the Las Vegas Challenge successful?
I think it's our volunteers. I mean, we have a staff, like people go, how do you volunteer? I'm like, we have a new volunteer guru, Pam Madrid. She has streamlined the process of online, come and sign up, become a volunteer. But we have a core group of 20 or 30 people that they come out every weekend a year, make T-pad adjustments. They make, they groom the course. They make it look great all year round so that the final product is realized this weekend. So our volunteers, top notch. We have over 100 volunteers, closer to 150 actually, out here, and we try to make them feel like family. We give them lots of perks. We feed them every day. We get them swag bags. They get a chance to get some of the special discs that are released before the general public. So we want to treat them so they come back. We actually had somebody come in this year to volunteer from England. They flew they're not playing, just flying out to volunteer, which is great. It's a testament of the experience that's out here. And if you're spotting a hole or if you're doing security, we want those people to feel like family. So that's what's successful. And that's not me, it's not Jessica, it's not the previous tournament directors, it's the volunteers. We couldn't do it without them.
Well, and I appreciate you leaning into that answer and giving us the detail, because for all of the tournament directors out there, all of the events that haven't even been built yet or hope to aspire to this place, I think that that's probably the most solid advice you could give someone is have good volunteers and a base and take good care of them. We've even heard that you guys throw a party for them the night before the event.
Last night it was good. We had a band in that was playing for them. We did a huge buffet dinner, gave away in the raffle over $1,000 in merchandise. Our key title sponsor, Innova, gave away special discs to a lot of our leads. I mean, we have leads, and we're kind of getting away from that. Like, we've given them certain roles, but these people have, they've learned their roles, and they want to learn other roles. So we're kind of like going, oh, they're going to be champions now, because, they are. They champion the event. They really, they take it home with them, And these are people with full-time jobs, and they take this week off, 10 days, whatever it is, to be out here to make the event successful. So we have to take care of them.
Absolutely. Final question I also asked earlier to Jessica. Sunday night, you're getting ready to lay down before you go to sleep. Right before you fall asleep, what is it for you that makes this whole weekend successful? What do you need for that?
It's the players, the spectators, everybody coming out just tell me what a great time they're having. If the course was too hard, too easy, just that feedback that I get, and the best one is not going to miss it. Be back next year. And we have 3 players that have played every year here, so they've always come back. So that's a testament from the longevity of the tournament, and our leads have been doing this since we've been here at Wild Horse, so it's amazing.
Well, thank you, and good luck to the entire staff and team of volunteers, and we really appreciate that you guys put so much work into this all year long, so good luck to you guys all.
Thanks, Zoe.
And we're going to stand down just for a minute.
Joining us now is our 6-time world champ, Paul McBeth. And Paul, last weekend you made your appearance at the Disc Golf Pro Tour All-Star Weekend and as a captain, but you came up a little bit short. I'm still going to ask the same question. What did you learn last weekend? What were the takeaways from that experience of being there?
Yeah, that was my first All-Star event there in Tucson with the teams. I think I did the one at Fountain Hills, which was a little bit different, different format, doubles and such. Yep. But it was pretty cool. As far as a player, I felt like there was a lot of downtime, being there and just at the resort. So it didn't seem like there was a lot of disc golf going on, but I think that's kind of something in the future, We'll get utilized a lot more and do a lot more fun things.
I feel like a lot of people, sports enthusiasts, talk about when All-Star breaks could or should be, and some people challenge us saying it feels weird to have it at the beginning of the season as opposed to mid-season or some kind of celebratory thing at the end of a season. Do you have any insight or would you have any suggestions for when something like that takes place?
I personally would like it at the end of the season, November time, October. Give maybe a week or two off after the DGPT finals, and then do an All-Star event. Maybe something with, like, we've done the Celebrity Pro-Am and stuff. Maybe doing a combined, kind of like the NBA All-Star. They have the celebrity game and such, and maybe we can do a little bit more, make it a little bit more entertaining. Maybe warmer weather too.
Well, hopefully hopefully we get back to nicer weather next year if we're out there. This year you had moved to Florida, and that kind of speaks to your off-season routine, your plans in being in a place where you felt like you could get in a routine and play comfortably. Did you take full advantage of that this year?
I did for a good amount. Up until about January, I felt like I was in a solid routine, and then kind of got jumbled a little bit. But, I'm here now, and I feel ready to go. I think it seemed like a really long off season, which is good. So I'm ready to. I'm itching for tournaments.
And speaking of tournaments, you have a C-tier win in your back pocket already, which isn't often. You probably say that, but speak a little bit about going international, playing in the event that you were at.
Yeah, first tournament in Mexico ever for me, and first win in Mexico. So it was a really cool experience because it had to do with the Paul McBeth Foundation and our first ever project, and the course. We installed 2 years ago 9 holes in La Paz, Mexico, and here we are 2 years later. They're hosting a tournament there, and they have 18 holes, and it was actually challenging, which was fun. It actually prepared me a little bit for the wind here that we're going to have, and was a good tournament to break in some discs. As you see, it's a little bit rocky, but they're kind of smooth rock, so it worked them in a little bit for me, and it's just a lot of fun seeing those people there and seeing a lot of people support it. Not just the players from Mexico, all around Mexico, but we had people from Maine, we had people from Northern California, Canada, all over. So it was really cool to see that international mix there in just a small course in La Paz, Mexico.
And I know it's going to be difficult with how many projects you're hoping to have, but is that one of your goals, is to revisit and go to places where you put in courses and then possibly play in an event or have clinics or something of that nature? Is that a big goal of yours or not so much?
I think it is an opportunity. I can't say it's a goal because it depends on the style of courses we put in and things like that. But I want them to continue to grow, and maybe as the sport grows in those areas, they can make these courses where some pros can come and play. But as far as the foundation, it's more for the growth of disc golf, not necessarily the professional side. But we also have Zoe Andike over here with You Play Disc Golf, who has gone and revisited some of these sites and done the educational side and promoted disc golf. And I know You Play was there in Guatemala when they had their tournament. So organizations like that we've teamed up with and partnered with have gone and been available for these tournaments and such. So I personally would love to go back to every site that I've been to and some of the ones I haven't been to, whether it's for a tournament or not. But I know there are organizations that are doing that.
And my last question along those lines of the Paul McBeth Foundation, what is this year look like for projects in terms of not necessarily every single one where you're doing them, but roughly how many are you looking to accomplish?
The goal is always, I think right now, 3 to 5 projects, international as well as here in the States. So like the ones we've done in the States are Chicago and Camden, New Jersey the last 2 years. This year I don't think we've announced one in the States, but we're working with a couple. Nicaragua is finally going to get finished this year. Madrid, Spain has been announced, and then I think there's one more that hasn't been announced yet. So those are the 3 big international projects. And then we're hoping for one in the U.S. and maybe one more fourth one. We'll see. I think 3 to 5 is solid right now for the size that we are.
All right. We know you'll also be playing and traveling internationally this year. Best of luck to you this weekend. Here's Zoe Endyke.
Thank you.
Hi, Paul.
Hello, Zoe.
I'm going to shift gears completely and talk a little bit about your tour. You've announced that you're going to be going over to Europe and putting a whole lot more time into the European tour and those events. Could you shed some light on the decision-making process and then ultimately what those pros versus cons, how did that actually make you choose to play in Europe so much more?
Sure, yeah. So it goes back to 2020. I had like a little bit of a European tour that I was going to do, and unfortunately that was the year the pandemic started. So that kind of derailed that, and then same thing, 2021, 2022, it's kind of been hard to get over there and travel with restrictions and just getting the tournaments going and being more of a tour. So I've wanted to get there since then. And this year I feel like it's just the perfect time where they have the Euro Tour, the disc golf, like the Euro Pro Tour, something like that. So they have quite a few events. So it just kind of works out to where I can go over there for 7 straight weeks and play a tournament every week, and also do this Paul McBeth Foundation course in Spain at the same time. So it is an extended trip. But I had that. I've wanted to get back there for a length of time for a while, and it just happens to be this year. And to be honest, I think with the Disc Golf Pro Tour points, there's nothing you really win with that title. You just kind of, it's kind of like I look at it like the NBA playoffs. You just kind of get seeded, but that doesn't really determine who wins at the end. So the goal is just to qualify for the Pro Tour and then show up for the finals.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I know a lot of people out there think that the only thing Paul has is to continue stacking up world titles, but it's really nice to hear you shed the information about how involved you are with the foundation, how you can continue to support those projects, and then what you're doing in Europe. I just feel like it's obvious that your personal goals reflect professionally, and I think it's really nice that you shared that with the public. So one last question, totally different topic here, is about Team Discraft. Your team is huge, both MPO and FPO. You guys gained a lot of key players this year. Does Discraft converse with you about these decisions, or are you any part of that?
So when I switched in 2019 to Discraft, there was a handful of players that came over at the same time, and they kind of saw that shift and they came along, and we all went on that journey together. And like for players such as Chris Dickerson and stuff, they've kind of asked me things like, what do you think of Chris? You go out there and tour with them. So they've asked for advice, but nothing as far as contracts or anything like that have I been informed and things like that. So they have asked certain questions, and I know even when Ricky switched he's at DD now, there were talks about Ricky coming over to Discraft, and they were like, hey, this is something, you guys have a rivalry. Do you think it will affect that at all? Do you think it will diminish that or things like that? And I said, you're a company. You guys do what you need to do. My job is to go out there and perform. So they have brought certain things like that where they might think that there might be a relationship issue, but I'm open to I look at it as it's their business. They make the decisions that will help them out the best. So.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. Well, I want to say good luck this weekend, all season long, and then on behalf of the entire organization of UPlay, thank you for your work with the foundation and all the goals that you have.
Thank you, Zoe.
Brian Earhart's up next.
Hello, Paul.
What's up, Brian?
A couple questions for you. Weather this week does not look good. Cold, rainy, windy. I suppose that's subjective. I've seen you shoot some fantastic rounds in awful weather where a lot of players really go the other direction with their score. Do you have a philosophy in regards to playing in quote-unquote less than favorable weather? Or is it just something that you have to take day by day?
It is definitely a day by day. Some days you wake up and you're like, I'm prepared to play in rain. Like, I'm going to make it fun. This is going to be enjoyable. I'll make the most out of it. Some days you're like, I don't want to be out here. And you kind of see that reflected in some people's scores. But it is hard to wake up that way and get into that mind state of, I'm going to make the most out of this. And this is the day I'm going to make my jump and my move. But it is really difficult. And I can say that that's something I need to work on still and somehow find that zone of, I'm going to shoot good in this weather, whether it's sunny and 75 or rainy and 35, which we might be able to see out here this week. So I don't know, I think I can just get into that a little bit more than some people at times.
Do you feel like that mindset and that ability to say, this is my day to take control, has gotten easier or tougher as you've gotten more experienced?
I think results will say it's gotten easier, but I don't think it's any easier. Like yesterday, I went out and played and practiced, and I was like, it's windy and it's cold. This is kind of fun. Today, I went out this morning. I said, I don't want to be here. But luckily, it snowed, and then I came back right before this press conference and got some shots in. I was like, this is nice. It's cold, but there's no wind. So, I still need to find ways to get into that.
When it comes to playing in the wind, there's a couple philosophies that I see different people take. One is to immediately change the disc that you're throwing to just pretty much beat the wind. Other players just like to manipulate the angle of the disc to get the disc to do what they want, to accommodate. Do you feel like you fall on one side or the other?
I think I fall on the side that makes it harder for me. I know the smart thing to do is just get the one disc and just go and find your angles. But for some reason, I always seem to find myself trying to switch discs and make the best shot instead of doing that. So I need to, that's one thing I really need to work on is just finding that one disc, trusting it, and going with it. And, accepting the pars or bogeys when they come, when that's the best score, and trying to get the birdies on those holes that are gettable, depending on, the situation. So I definitely need to get better at that.
Well, interesting you say that, because I was spending some time with Ricky Wysocki on the sidelines last week at the All-Stars, and he was talking about his approach to disc golf as being that one disc, throw it as many times as you can, throw it on the same angle as you can. Yeah. Is that something that, would you say you're envious of his natural inclination to do that?
Yeah, I don't know the terminology to use, but I always just need to tell myself, just dumb it down and just kind of get the one disc and go with it, and don't switch up that game plan, just stick with it. So I really need to just really simplify it and go with that, but it is hard for me. I always want to go out there and challenge myself and not necessarily take the easiest line, but take the one that I feel like is going to make me focus. But it is hard at times.
Out here at this course, or these courses in Vegas, is there a game plan that you can have to approach an optimal score out here, or are you just pedal to the metal the entire way?
There is definitely strategies to some of these holes. Like one that comes to my mind right away is hole 3 over there, or hole 4 at the Millennium course. It's a short little par 3, but there's that bunker right there where typically you want to slide into the hill, but you really need to play that one long or long left and putt back towards it and make your mistake there. To where if you're in that hazard, at best you're getting is a par. So there's holes like that where I think, you have to have the right shot if you want to get the birdie. And then there's a ton of them throughout the two courses. But there's some that I feel like can be tough to get. But I think they're all birdieable out here.
Well, fantastic. And Paul, good luck this week. A lot of good competition out there, and we'll see you the rest of the season. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Hailey King is joining us. Hailey, welcome to Vegas. I feel like you were just tweeting or messaging from home on the other side of the country. When did you arrive?
Yeah, I arrived yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of which,
before, yeah.
I feel like it was maybe even this press conference last year, you sometimes show up with not a lot of time. Is that still kind of the game plan?
I mean, for some events, yeah, especially when they're very long or across the country. So it's like, I'm going to be here for 6 days. It's already a longer event. I'm going to be playing disc golf. I don't need to be playing disc golf for 8 days in a row. I can figure it out, 2 days before the event. And then the third day, it'll be time to zone in, I guess, yeah.
So we've had some crazy weather over the last day or two. What have your practice routines been like, and do you feel like you're dialed in and ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, we've just been playing. Yeah, I feel good.
Okay. And then I'll follow that up with, it feels like your disc golf and non-disc golf balance continues to be something you're working on, or just maybe enjoying, maybe is a better word. I see you streaming a lot, playing a lot of online video games. What is it about putting disc golf aside and then focusing on other things? How do you maintain that balance?
I mean, honestly, I just like playing games, and then there's a lot of people in the disc golf community like playing video games, so it's like if I can stream and connect with more of the community, that's something that's awesome to do, and yeah, I don't know, I like gaming.
I love it. And my last question is that last year when we were in Wisconsin, you took down the U.S. Women's. It was a major, of course. Congratulations yet again for that. However, it doesn't feel like the rest of your events you were able to play to that standard or to that level. Is there anything that you either learned from last year or that you worked on in the off season that you feel like might get you back on the podium more often this year?
Oh yeah, last year I just wasn't physically healthy, so it's
Okay.
like now this year I spent a lot of time in the off season focusing on that, and very happy with how far I got. There's still a lot of progress to go, but I think a lot has changed in between last year and now, and I feel really good, and I'm really excited for this weekend.
What are some of the physical things that you have been working on in terms of your health or getting yourself prepped?
I mean, just eating more and working out, just learning how to use my body properly and taking care of it. Yeah.
All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck. Here's Zoe Andick.
Hi, Hailey.
Hey, Zoe.
And welcome back on the scene. I know I've missed you a few times, and I know that taking that little break was really crucially important, like vital for you to be happy, healthy, and here mindfully for the events. So I'm just going to kind of trail right off of where you and Terry were just talking. Physically, healed up. You're feeling like you're taking better care of yourself, working out, eating. Is it a coach? Is it all coming from within? Do you have multiple sources? How are you finding this help?
I mean, really, it's like the people that are surrounding me, my friends and family, that are really helpful. And then basically it's just allowing myself to better myself. I felt like I was holding myself back all these years, and now it's like I'm comfortable where I'm at, and I feel like I have the support that I need to where I can do what I need to do. Yeah.
And obviously back with Innova another year, so feeling pretty good with that support on the sponsorship side.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I love these guys.
Awesome. And out here in Las Vegas this weekend, again, we've talked about it a few times. We've got the wind, we've got the cold weather. Is any of that bothering you? Will it affect your game plan, or are you basically, you've got your shot and your plan for each hole?
I mean, I have Halo discs, and that's basically all you need in the wind, so just as long as I keep the attitude up, we'll be good.
Cool. Well, my final question for you is about the general goal or goals for 2023. Are you more focused on things to do with the podium, or are you more focused on continuing to feed this self-care, or a little bit of both?
I think definitely a little bit of both. Now I'm kind of hungry for a couple of wins, especially pulling off a major win last year. That makes me feel really good about where I'm at, so I definitely want to get some wins, but I would like to just make sure I feel good throughout the entire year.
Awesome. Well, good luck this weekend throughout the season, and here's Brian.
Thank you.
Hello, Hailey.
Hey, Brian.
A few questions for you. Most important question first, how is your cat Shadow doing?
Shadow's doing amazing. Shout out to Erin from Drive Bigs for checking up on her. Yeah, she's loving home.
Now, is it tough now that you are a cat mom being away from your cat for long extended periods of time? It's kind of a big jump.
I mean, it's definitely tough, but got cameras at home and got people taking care of her, so I know she's doing all right, so I'm going to be doing all right.
Well, I also know that you are living in Charlotte still, close to Hornets Nest, which is something that a lot of people listening from home are very jealous about. How often do you actually get out to Hornets Nest, and how often do you get out to all the other courses in Charlotte?
Well, I hope y'all don't hate me because I haven't played Hornets Nest once since I moved there. I've been playing a lot of Nevin and a lot of R.L. Smith. Yeah.
R.L. Smith, very technical Charlotte course, a lot of elevation that they somehow found near the city limits. What do you feel like you work on there? Is it just getting out into the flow state and throwing shots, or do you actually work on stuff on your game when you're out there?
So for me, it's like focusing on hitting those lines. I don't need to see where the disc lands. I just want to hit a line, and in the woods for me, it's a lot easier to actually hit those lines because there's literal gaps that you have to hit. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of which, the opposite is coming this weekend, and you posted a video recently of you throwing 500 feet for the very first time out here on these courses. Do you feel like your distance is still at that level? You posted a video recently, and your timing looked fantastic.
Thank you. That means a lot coming for you. But I definitely feel like I'm throwing the same distance, if not further. We were throwing practice rounds, and the entire time I was like, there's no way this is 500 feet. I feel like there's still no way those signs are actually at 500 feet because it wouldn't make sense. I was real close to them. But yeah, I'm excited.
It was a big shot, and I remember watching it when it first happened, and it definitely was close to 500. I want to ask you maybe a more technical question, because you do think very deeply about the game of disc golf, and you don't necessarily project it as often as people maybe would like. Are you still, after all this time, working on your backhand technique? I know at some point you were working on the off arm, you were working on footwork, all sorts of things. Are anything you're kind of obsessing over at this time?
Yeah, I feel like I'm always kind of obsessing over it, to be honest, but I feel like recently I've just been trying to figure out how to properly use my body and get the best result I can, so it's always going to be a constant grind trying to find that. And yeah, I like throwing lefty and like trying new things because it allows me to think in a different way to see if I can come up with something new, if I can throw further, just more, I don't know, whatever, yeah.
Your lefty, now that you mention that, is pretty good.
Pretty clean.
In the FPO division, do you feel like you have the best opposite-handed backhand?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, it's no doubt.
If I had a drink in my mouth, I'd spit it out. That was very funny. Hailey, just got to wish you all the luck in the world. There's a lot of people very excited to see you out here. We'll be back in just a few.
Thank you.
Joining us now is Gannon Buhr, our runner-up last year in that epic playoff between you and Drew Gibson. And I'm going to start out as simply as I can and just ask, how you doing?
Lots been going on, obviously. So still trying to get as much practice in as I can. And I feel pretty good about the courses. It's just going to kind of depend on the conditions and how I kind of play during the rounds, I guess, if that makes sense. I'm only working with a couple discs right now that I'm confident in. I'll probably have about 7 discs in my bag that I'm really, confident in. So just got to go overstable as it's going to be pretty windy and kind of just limit those bogeys. I think if I can just stay clean, not take any bogeys, I'll be just fine.
I think the entire world wants to know if there is any update to the situation. Of course, news dropped last week while we were at the All-Star break, but is there any update that you can share with the world in terms of your situation?
It wouldn't be wise for me to speak on it right now.
Okay. And with that, you just said that you're going to be throwing approximately 7 molds. Are those similar to what you were throwing last year in terms of your game plan, what you're doing, or have you made adjustments based on what the weather is forecasted?
Yeah, I'm throwing all Prodigy for further notice. Looking at I have a couple overstable D3s that I'll be throwing a lot. Probably some overstable FX2s, and obviously my A2 I threw a lot last year. So it's pretty much the same bag I had last year. Just got to kind of relearn everything and kind of pick a few discs. I'm good enough to where I can change my angle depending on what the shot is. So I can make a couple drivers work out here, especially with it being windy. Like I said, just got to pick your spot in the fairway to land that. And sometimes it's actually nice to have less discs because it forces you to throw a shot. You're not like, okay, which disc do I choose? Do I want this one or this one? Because sometimes you bag discs that are very similar but have a very slight difference in terms of the flight, in terms of like wind or something like that, or power, speed. So kind of having some fewer amount of discs is nice because limits the options, and there's no decision making really going on. It's just like you're going to throw this disc, and all you got to do is throw it good.
Now, as a guy who consumes a ton of disc golf media or part of creating it, whatever the case might be, did you go back at any point? Do you go back and reflect on what happened last year, whether it was the playoff or your final round or anything of that nature? Is there anything that you wanted to relive or maybe learn from?
I think with winning USDGC, as I got towards the end of the season with a couple great finishes last year, I kind of learned that I need to be more aggressive in some moments where, I know last year at the Las Vegas Challenge here, I would kind of play for par in a couple holes, I remember being round 2 on hole 17. I get a lot of crap for this, but I threw a forehand just trying to, I saw where I was at the point in the tournament. I was going to be on the lead card if I just parred out, so I was like, okay, that's my goal. When in reality, I probably should have kept pushing, and I could have got 2 more birdies, and, that would have been enough to win. So I think being aggressive in the right moments, definitely learned last year that, playing safe with the amount of level of play we have today, you got to go for stuff, and there's no playing safe, there's no letting up. You got to just stay aggressive and keep getting those birdies.
My last question is, how easy, when you step onto the course tomorrow, will it be easy or difficult for you to kind of turn off the switch of the outside noise and focus in on the task at hand? How easy or difficult is that for you?
It's probably going to be pretty easy for me, especially with the conditions. It's supposed to be super windy tomorrow, so when you're playing in wind like that, I almost find it hard to be nervous because it feels like you're just trying to survive out there. It's not like, when you're in the wind, if you are off by a little bit, you're not too worried because unless you throw the shot absolutely perfectly, you're probably not going to birdie. If with 30-mile-per-hour winds, you got to be within 20 feet, I think, to feel okay about getting a birdie. And so there's no expectations tomorrow. Where as if the conditions were good, you have those expectations to throw those shots exactly how you want them to throw, and that's where you can kind of play with like the stability of your discs, how precise you all can be with them. So I feel pretty good going in tomorrow. I'm going to go out here, putt a little bit, try to get my putt fixed. It's going to be a little bit chilly, windy, might be rainy during this weekend. So just got to battle the conditions, stay in bounds, and take your birdies when they show up.
And maybe a little perspective, as windy or rainy and cold as it might be here, it's much worse in Iowa right now, just like it is in the rest of the Midwest. So
100%.
We wish you the best of luck. Here's Zoe Andike.
Hi, Gannon.
Hey.
Last we caught up at the end of last season. You kind of let in and let me know that school was a little bit tough to keep up with while touring. Did you catch up on your homework?
I actually failed one class, but I retook it. I got like a B+ in it, so I only failed it because I wasn't really in school. So when I was in school, I was able to be a good student and get a decent grade. But I graduated like a month ago, so I'm full-time disc golf right now with my friends. It's kind of just living the dream. Obviously, I was before, but now with no extra pressure, it's kind of amazing.
Well, I believe, kind of zooming out from the Las Vegas Challenge, that was one of the bigger questions outside of the other noise that's happening is how does somebody balance finishing high school? And now that you've done that, is the focus, the complete focus, is the Disc Golf Pro Tour?
Yeah, 100%. I worked a lot this offseason on just trying to gain some weight to kind of just protect my body from injury a little bit more. Just taking I guess health maybe a little bit more seriously in terms of just like I said, gaining weight. I think as long as I'm not like tired after rounds, I know immediately at All-Stars, and even now, my legs haven't gotten sore or slow or tired. I guess it's probably just my upper body I need to just keep working on. But I think my body feels good. It just depends on how clean my game is during the week.
And if you don't mind me asking, are you working with Seth Munsey and Disc Golf Strong, or do you have other strength coaches and coaching outlets?
Yeah, I work with a guy named Josh Wentz. I worked with him kind of at the beginning of the season, and he kind of got me started. Kind of right after Pro Tour finals, I kind of worked with him for a couple months and transitioned to working with Seth Munsey. Last couple weeks of this off season, I really get my stability down. Where the first couple weeks of the off season, I was really working on getting my strength and gaining weight. So last couple weeks is more disc golf training, where before it was kind of just overall health, I guess.
Well, thank you for sharing your struggles and your achievements now with school and graduating, and then also your achievements and new focuses for the body. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Brian Earhart. Thanks again, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Hello, Gannon.
Hello.
One last question for you. You started off last season with a bang, almost winning this tournament, going into an epic playoff with Drew. When you replay these courses with your current skill set, obviously you're working with, whatever limited molds you said you're working with. Do you feel like your decision-making has changed as a player? Do you feel like the way you approach disc golf has changed from an actual gameplay standpoint?
Slightly. I'm definitely more aggressive, but I also feel like I've kept that smart game plan where if it 100% is not a shot that I'm confident in, or something that I feel like has some amount of risk, if the risk is only a bogey at worst, then I might go for it. Where before I probably wouldn't, and I might have lost a couple strokes that way, might have gained some, who knows. But whenever the numbers kind of start to get higher, whether it's island holes or you have to re-tee, tough drop zones, I know there's a couple holes on tour that the drop zone's almost harder than the tee shot. So in that case, I'll kind of almost just play for a par, and I think that's where my game's definitely changed a little bit, and kind of just focusing more on what the score could be potentially, how big the spread can be, if it's going to be a triple, a birdie, kind of whatever there. And I've definitely over time transitioned to more flex lines with overstable plastic, which has helped me a bunch. I feel like maintain my consistency, because if I'm off a little bit with overstable stuff, it kind of just stalls out and it still ends up being left. I'm not, even if I shank it, it's still going to just try to finish left. Where if you take something with a little bit of flip on it, play with the flip. If you're not comfortable with it, the wind gets under it, you can really miss your line by a bunch. So I think playing the percentages with my game plan, I think, has led me to where I'm at now.
Great. Well, with that said, good luck this week, and we will be back in just a few.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Joining us now is Eagle McMahon. And Eagle, my question's pretty simple, which is, how does your body feel?
The age-old question. I feel good. That's it's pretty good to say that, honestly. I'd say I'm probably stronger than I've ever been in a lot of different aspects. I would say my game's probably 85-90%. So I'm excited to be on the Pro Tour again.
So when you say 85 or 90%, what exactly do you feel like, the difference that's missing, what can you attribute that to, or what is missing?
I don't have my distance forehand.
Okay.
I won't beat around the bush. There's just some underlying stability in the shoulder, but backhand's about 95, 100%. It's just the motion of a forehand, but I am able to throw a handful of forehands just depending on the distance. So really just going to kind of avoid them if possible. If I need to, which a lot of the more wooded technical courses, they require some scramble shots. It makes it a lot easier. But a course like this, you really don't need a forehand. And I've been able to train and also develop some new shot shapes that allows me to stay competitive even without what everyone associates with me as one of my strongest weapons. I'll hopefully prove to people that I'm not just a one-trick pony.
Well, I think you certainly did that back at the European Open. It was very impressive what you were doing there. And when you talk about shot shapes, is that a matter of learning different angles, or is that playing with new tools and having different discs that maybe are doing new things for you?
A little bit of both. You get better at what you practice. So while throwing a bunch of forehands back in the day, it never really gave me the opportunity to practice my control backhand game, or put new molds in the bag that may cater to that shot a little bit better. So kind of adjusting angles, realizing there's some new release points, different ways to throw the disc, and practicing. That really kind of helped develop some new shots in my game, and I'm really feeling good about it.
Well, it seems that there's almost this glow or excitement that's radiating off of you right now. Are you as happy as you've ever been?
I mean, that's a pretty big question, but let's go with yeah. Life is good. I got disc golf has provided me with such an amazing life. I've done a lot within the sport. I've met my girlfriend, which she's like the greatest gift ever. So I owe so much to disc golf. So I am the happiest I've ever been. Good question, Terry.
Well, I know one thing that would make you happier is keeping the pattern going. Every other year that you've been here, you've won this event. Is that something that you take note of, or is that just our friends at Statmando doing the work?
That's Statmando, but it's a cool stat. Let's see how fate plays out. Fate's a funny thing, but if I play good, I know I'll be in the mix.
All right, everyone. That's Eagle McMahon. It looks like we've got Zoe Andike coming up for you.
Hi, Eagle.
Hello.
I just have a couple of questions about kind of some of the training and some of the diet, like self-care and healthcare aspects of your off-season. And so you've recently posted or come out with the fact that you are okay with eating protein and meat. So
Yep.
can we talk about, first of all, how did that change and why?
Yeah, so I was vegan for a long time, and I believed it was the best thing ever. And a lot of aspects of veganism are incredible, and I feel like anybody who gets into veganism is doing it for a very noble, just cause. But it wasn't until 2018, 2019 that I was always challenged on the topic, and I always had a good response. But I looked more and more into it, and I tried not to take a polarizing viewpoint, and it just all the literature, all the research that I did, talking to professionals, it just pointed in the direction of consuming animal products. And it wasn't until last year where I decided, okay, let's give it a try, because when you're injured and you're not doing what you love, you question whether what you're doing is right or not. So I wanted to try something, see if I could develop a little bit more muscle mass and have a little bit more endurance, just feel all around stronger. So made the switch, and so far it's all been positive. I feel like definitely a little bit stronger. So overall, I don't regret this decision, and I'm feeling great.
That's excellent. And Can we talk a little bit about the strength training? I know in years past you've worked with Seth Munzie and Disc Golf Strong. Do you have other training outlets, and how regular is your strength training?
Yeah, I still work with Seth to a certain degree. I know that I'll be loving his support during the year, but unfortunately, just Seth isn't there with me all the time. So I took on another trainer back home. Shout out to Strength to Strength. I've been going anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week over there, and training and losing weight and doing CrossFit style workouts a lot different. He's done a really good job at kind of putting my body back together. The weirdest thing is he's told me that you have the most interesting body that he's ever worked with, and I think if you worked on a lot of disc golfers, they could say the same. Just if you play for a long time, we're stressing all different planes of the body and having all this crazy muscle compensation. But I've been a puzzle for him to put back together, but I feel like he's done a really good job, and it's a great routine, and lucky to have him in my corner, as well as Seth, as well as Move Chiropractic and Yoga. Those guys over there are incredible, so I have a really great team surrounding me to get me back out there and perform at a high level.
I think it's really important to not only talk about it, but to focus on these aspects. And Eagle, just like Terry said, you do look like you're shining and you're ready for this season. Good luck this weekend. And we have Brian Earhart for you.
Thank you.
Hello, Eagle.
Hey, Brian.
Got one question for you. Was watching some coverage at Goat Hill, and I saw you throwing flatter. I saw you throwing some flatter lines, some turnover lines, some lines we're not used to you throwing. And for the longest time, I'd always seen you as and you've even talked to me about this, throwing the comfortable hyzer angle with the spine tilt and then changing the disc out of your hand to shape the disc. Are you consciously throwing flatter than you have been before?
Thank you, Discmania, for making more overstable discs. No, a lot of the time, I would just throw on more hyzer because I had to compensate for discs flipping over. So I'm able to find some newer runs, some of the new plastic that's coming out of the Swedish factory. I'm able to hit it a little bit harder and flatter, and it stands up to the power. So I'm really excited about that.
So is that your preferred line rather than just like the stock hyzer that you've thrown for a long time?
Yeah, so coming from Colorado, I never really was able to throw the hyzer flip game because everything was too overstable. So coming up, I started out as more of a flex thrower, more of a force over guy. But going to low altitude, I had to change everything and put everything on a hyzer. But now I'm able to flex stuff a little bit more. I mean, it's still probably my preferred release on a slight hyzer for some of the more distant style shots. But there are a handful of discs in my bag that I'm able to get some more shot shaping out of.
Well, you were moving the disc fantastic left to right with the backhand at Goat Hill. I saw some great shots that you were throwing that really was not used to seeing you throw. In regards to those, clockwise spinning left to right shots that you're throwing, how satisfied with the progress that you've made are you?
It's really good. Between the original Razor Claw and the Mind Bender, those discs just I can hit them hard, flat or slight hyzer, and they just drift to the right. So. It's really nice to have some discs that I feel confident in, and it's such a satisfying shot when you get it because it's one of the prettiest flights in disc golf.
Agreed. Good luck this week, Eagle. And
appreciate it.
With that, we have one more person. We have Calvin in just a few minutes.
And welcome back, everyone. Our final conversation of the day is going to be with one Calvin Heimburg. And Calvin, I just told you I don't have anything to talk to you about. What do you have for me?
So I was supposed to prepare a statement.
You were.
All right. Well, I had a great off season. Spent it down in Florida. It was nice and warm. Got to play some disc golf. So I'm feeling good, ready to play. Vegas is always kind of just getting a little bit warmed back up for the season. So I think that's where everyone kind of is. But I'm excited to be back out here, and I'm ready to play.
And speaking of playing, though, you did just get off the course. A little bit of the Skins action taking place. The whole world wants to know what went down in Skins.
I don't know if I'm supposed to spoil that.
You're really not, no. That was a trick question, Calvin.
Okay.
But on a more serious note, I feel like I've asked you this before. Here you are trying to still hunt down your first major in this season. Obviously, it'll take place.
Yeah,
this isn't
it's
the
not
major.
going to happen this week.
Yeah, it's not going to happen this weekend. But this year, what can you bring from previous years? And this is throughout touring, traveling, all of your experiences. What is it going to take to find yourself on top of the podium, not just at a major, but any of our Elite Series events this year?
I think pretty much the same thing as it's kind of been the past few years. Really consistent, high-level play. You can't really just play conservative and win any events anymore. So it's going out there, being aggressive, and executing, every shot that you can. So whether it's an Elite Series or major, it's mostly the same competition. It's just slightly different stage. But it's just going to take making a lot of putts and throwing a lot of good drives.
And so this year at the LVC, we're playing just 2 courses. Talk about how they do or don't align with your game and things that you like about it.
Yeah, we're playing 2. We're playing the Millennium and Innova courses this year. These courses are fairly open. Not a whole lot of even mid-ranges being thrown. I feel like it's just a lot of fairways and distance drivers. So they're on the longer side, I would say. Long and open, but big skips, and then there's OB in play because of that, whether it be the big skips or the wind. So it's just throwing big shots, keeping them in bounds, and then giving yourself opportunities.
And then even making a putt or two, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to try and do.
Yeah, every time.
You're so good at this. All right, here's Zoe Endike.
Hi, Calvin.
Hello.
Welcome back to Vegas. Hope you're settled in and ready for the season. You feeling good?
Yep, feeling good.
Feeling good. Well, I just have one question for you, actually, and it doesn't have much to do with this tournament. I think Terry did a good job covering it, but for being such a reserved type of personality or person, how much do you really enjoy doing the GK skins and the Gel Mez putting? Or is it just that you really like talking crap and taking people's money?
Yeah, I mean, I do enjoy those things. I think it's kind of a more fun version of disc golf. All that's just bonus money. I'm not really looking at that as competition to win. It's not my job. It's bonus content, and talking smack is pretty fun. So.
And do you feel like you've grown into your professional kind of personality on the tour with those 2 elements?
I think I've just become more comfortable with the people around. At first, I didn't really know anybody on tour. I would say I was probably a little more like that with people back home that I was comfortable being around. Just took time to figure out who everybody was out here and just feel comfortable around them.
Well, thank you for sharing, and here's Brian Earhart. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Hello, Calvin.
Hey.
A couple questions for you. Number 1, I've talked to a few of the players that do win events on the tour. There's a handful that win consistently, have won multiple, and a few of them have this romanticized view about a long-term goal of being the best to ever play the game, or being quote-unquote the GOAT of the sport. I'm wondering, do you share that same romanticized sentiment when you view your choice to play this game professionally? Is that something that you chase after?
I think anyone that's competitive is trying to be the best at any given moment. As far as being the GOAT, I think there's a huge element of longevity involved in that. And I don't know, there's a long time where I didn't know if this is what I was going to be doing. You can see a lot of the people that are coming up and are really good are young, and I wasn't touring when I was 17 or 18 years old. Honestly, wasn't good enough either. But so I don't really think that's a conversation I'll ever be in. I don't think I I just don't think there's enough time for that to really happen. I think I'm good, and I think I'm really good for whatever time period I played in, and obviously I can, increase the amount of accolades I have to show that, but like I don't think I'm ever going to have 12 world titles or 6 world titles. Like I just don't think that's a realistic thing to put on myself to chase. I mean, obviously I'd like to win some majors at some point, but I think I'm a long way from being in a conversation of GOAT. Like it's not even close.
Well, with that said, I want to zoom in maybe on this weekend. Something that you can control is how you perform on the course, obviously coming up. You've played extremely well here on these courses, on these golf courses. Do you feel like you enjoy playing this style of course?
I think this style suits my game pretty well. I wouldn't say it's my favorite style of golf. I mean, my favorite course to play on tour is Maple Hill, so it's drastic different compared to what we have here. But I think coming out here, I have a decent chance at winning. It's distance shots, and I also have the advantage where I got to play a lot of disc golf in the off season if I wanted to. So I got to keep myself warm and in shape. So.
A lot of people comment on how you are very good at this low laser beam drive that you have been caught on highlights many times throwing. Do you feel like there's any extra things that you try adding to your game at this point, like in regards to maybe just your backhand throw?
Yeah, I mean, always working on new little things, whether it be throwing better forehands or even messing around with rollers. So always working with new things. It's just always difficult to trust yourself enough to throw it when it matters. So once you have like one shot that's super reliable, it's just hard to really get yourself out there and throw another shot when you have something that is most likely going to work. Even if the other option's technically probably the better option, if you have something that should work, it's hard to just deviate from doing that.
Of course. And now to dive into a much more important question. This came from a fan. You are known as the pizza in the oven guy, but what is your overall stance on calzones?
Calzones? I don't order them very often. I would say it's like a once a year kind of food item. I would rather a pizza.
Would you call it a special occasion type meal?
Honestly, I would say I'm probably just confused, and that's why I order it off the menu instead of something else. So you could call it a special occasion.
Thank you, Calvin.
Yeah.
And good luck this week. And with that, we are wrapping up our press conference, and we will see you out there for round 1 tomorrow.
Appreciate it.